On to our next. No mai haere mai. Yeah.
Reire te mai o katina te wā kata wheka te ewe kata rō te oka. Ngā te moko, ngā te mereke pere, ngā te hikau, ngā hape. O moko tangata ka sai te marae. O moko te wharenei. O te rei wharengi te wharekai. Ai. O te rei whakataka whenua ngā te pewa hai. Ai. Ko te awa ki au, he wahi, haungaru, he wahi, hangarua, he wahi tina tapu ki a mātou, te takawhia ta wheka. He wahi i tipu ai mātou ngā mangariki o te wheka. Tino hai maru, tino tapu ki a mātou. E mahanga tawariki ka hare ki kura ki te whakatai o rā te wairua. He kura e tai ika, e tai tina, e tai haira, e tai pufferfish. E tai ngā tino whai. Reira. I te wai te tipu ai mātou. I ngā wā tino kaimaha ki a mātou ngā tamariki, nā te mai tino pati ngā mātua. E haere mātou ngā tamariki ki kora, ki te whakatai o mātou wairua. Ai, I tipu mātou ki kora, hei kora tonu mātou, ki tēnei rā tonu. Nō reira, tēnā kate, tēnā rā kate ki tonu.
Kia ora, meri ora tātou, koe shipe o hau, Hiuri tēnei no te takapua ta Prika, karangi te mai no katina te awa, ko moko te mara, nā te moko te hapu, ko ta Prika te iwi, ko te aroa te waka. Ko te rangi whakaka te tapu ta mahine, ko mama me, ko mea tēnei, tapu I rāmitu. I mea mai taka te mahine, he haumari te awa. He mea whakapiki waira hoki. He kono ngā te awa ki o mātou tipuna. Atu I te awa, ko te takapu, ko ta Prika is incorporating every living being and the awa and out of the awa as well. For us, I would really hope that any decision that's been made about our takapu, we want to be here. We want to know everything that happens in our takapu. Our babies, our kids, they're going to be where we are today, if not better, because they're going to be more informed, because we want to encourage ourselves and our whānaus to be at the tables we use up. But we also want to let the decision makers know that our iri and our babies want to be at your table. We want to be involved in everything that you do or touch in a takapu. I was driving over here this morning, had a bit of a car accident, and everything's gone out the window. But I do want our babies to know how important our whakapū is to us and how important it is for us to be at the decision-making table, not to be informed later, but to be right there, involved in the consent. We also want to limit the para that gets put into our hours, and that's including farming. That's including commercial para, that's everything, the good, the bad and the ugly. We also want opportunities where our kids, like, this is amazing, it's come to the marae, but a more, not child friendly, but a more, child friendly environment where it's not so corporate. Just to be able to hear their noise. I would hope that the recordings from the submissions for the safety bylaw, those recordings be available to help support this kōrero today, because there's a lot of stuff that both me and my daughter have missed out. But that anything that happens in our whakapū, that we are at the tables making those decisions alongside the Mayor and the Bay Plenty Regional Council. Also supports in developing ourselves and equip ourselves with the tools and resources needed to sit alongside youth. But also, scholarships and training us to understand the scientific stuff that you fellas talk about when it comes to our awa, because believe me, we don't understand that. I think that's about it, right? Eringi tērā, tēnei tini ka koutou, ka tātou, poti rā, tēnā koutou, katoa. Ki mai nei te atua te pōko manga whaiau ka mate. Kei te kitanga ka mate. Ka ki te ui te tai o te uru. Ka ki te ui te tai o te tonga. Ka pūtia. Pēlagia. Te tai o kai tino ka pūtia. Watangi te wari. Kia ora, rangi kia koutou.
Arana mai, council, were there any questions for anything?
No, I can thank Chair to see the rangatahi here expressing in te reo was wonderful. So just wonderful to know that we can find for that. It's a sign of the mokopuna future. This is where focus on the vision.
Next, the matter I'd like to invite Rana. Tēnā koe Rana. Tēnā. So you can see, Getting on.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ruana pēnā tapuinua ko te kaiwhakahaere mō te wahapū o Waihi. My name is Ruana Bennett, and today I stand before you as the project coordinator for Te Wahapū o Waihi. That is a iwi collective that is undertaking the project in conjunction with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council in the Waihi estuary, going right back up through our entire catchment. Te Wahapū o Waihi is a collective of 5 iwi, Ngāti Whakahemo, Ngāti Whakaweki Makutu, Ngāti Mākino, Ngāti Te Kiau and Tapuika. We all have deep connections with the Waihi estuary, and our hearts break when we go there and see the paru that's there. Our hearts break when we can't take our tamariki mokopuna there to collect the pipi. Pipi and toko that we remember collecting as kids, but we also remember distinctly as teenagers that time in our lives when we were said, no, don't go there and get pipi anymore, go to Makutu. So we're there on a mission. We're there on a mission to put aside any differences we may have had, as iwi, to put those aside and focus solely on cleaning up our the Wahapū, the Waihi estuary, and bringing her back to health. Thank you. Please do my slides. Oh, I'm doing my slides. There we go. He oranga te Wahapū, he oranga te iwi. When the estuary is well, the people are well. So the health of the estuary is a metaphor for the health of the people. And Te Wahapū o Waihi will be succeeding when we have a healthy mahinga kai as an indicator of a thriving Waihi estuary, catchment and community for the long term. Very clear mission statement there. We have 4 guiding principles: mana motuhake, mahinga kai, mahitahi, our mokopuna. Mana motuhake is about us reasserting ourselves in this space. We allowed ourselves to stand back for a number of decades, during which time the land use intensification really did some damage. We're not allowing that space anymore. We're stepping forward back into that space, and we're going to lead the change. Mahinga kai, it's about getting ourselves back into the estuary. Mahitahi, it's about working together with ourselves as iwi, but also with yourselves as stakeholders. It's about our mokopuna. Nothing gets us activated passionately or more quickly than our babies. So thank you, whānau, for bringing your tamariki mokopuna here today and making it real for us. We're taking a catchment approach, and so there you can see the Waihi catchment. It goes right back up, backs onto the lakes, the Rotiti, Rutuma, Rotihu lakes. And so it's a large catchment. Now it's known that this is one of the most degraded catchments in the country. It's absolutely shameful that we're in this position today. Now we meet all your community criteria. We tick all your boxes. And in the submission, we've detailed how we tick those boxes. So I urge you to go back to our written submission. I don't want to go into that in the short time that I have now, but we do tick all your boxes. There's a very strong alignment. So getting to the long-term plan. The long-term plan recognises and supports, our submission is that the long-term plan recognises and supports the important mahi being done by Te Wahapū o Waihi in continuing and strengthening our partnership with Toi Moana. What we would like to see and ensure in the long-term plan is that the staffing and OPEX budget that you already allocate to this project is maintained. Now, I have said this to a number of you on an individual basis before, but the engagement process at the Bay of Plenty Regional Council that Toi Moana has undertaken with this project is a model engagement process. I personally, and many of us, have got many years of experience of engaging with councils, with government departments, and it often doesn't go that smoothly. but I would like to say, and I don't know how often you hear the bouquets as opposed to the brick bats, but here's a bouquet. Your team have done really well to engage with Iwi on this project. And I suggest, just an aside, you might want to do a little case study, a little internal piece of work, see what worked well, and maybe spread that across, not just internally, but wave the flag, because I know that some of the other regional councils around the country are nowhere near Toiwana. It's not all bouquets from us. I just wanted to leave that one with you. So we would like to see the staffing and OPEX budget that you give this project to be to continue. And what you do by allocating that staffing and OPEX budget, and also some of the other monies that are going into this catchment, is it allows us to leverage all that and find other partners. Some of those other partners are government departments, but some of those other partners are philanthropics. Some of those other partners are international groups that are trying to find a place and an investment in a country like New Zealand. So by making that piece of investment, you're actually enabling us to leverage up and do a tremendous amount. So you will be aware that we're looking at putting in place a 20-hectare coastal wetland. You'll be aware that we're looking at putting in place a 10-hectare constructed freshwater wetland. We have asked you for more investment in that 10-hectare constructed freshwater wetland, and we would like you to give your full consideration to funding that budget, again, as a prototype, as a case study, so that we can leverage off that to get more money coming into that catchment restoration. We're looking at an active and quite aggressive program of supporting dairy farms and to retire land from the intensive dairy farming. We're looking at farm planning, risk identification and mitigation, and we're also looking at potentially a formal joint iwi council relationship, similar to the kaituna, the model kaituna. So that's in a snapshot what's in the written submission. And I'm pleased that I've got this opportunity to speak to it. Maybe I'm not articulating it that well, but these are the things that are important to us. And we believe that they're important to you too. And together we can just go further, harder, faster, and that's what we need to be doing right now. I just want to do a little bit of a show off, and I've got my eye on the time. But the Waihi Estuary project, Wahapua Waihi, is it's the key who are saying, yeah, invest in this one. So just quickly, before I break for questions, we undertook our inaugural summer internship program, and we had 10 rangatahi aged between 16 and 24. And we picked them specifically because they were either going on to senior years in school, or they were intending to or already at university. And 10 places, we welcomed them onto the marae. This is the sort of mahi they did right through summer. Mahi taiao, so they're doing the freshwater measurements, they're doing the monitoring, they're doing the pest plant control, they are trapping some of those pests. Now those 10 young people have formed bonds that will last the rest of their life. Now they've gone off into the world, they will come back and they will pick up this mahi from us. And there's some more of the mahi there. I'm just showing off now. Now with that, if there's any questions, sorry, I really need to acknowledge Taru, who doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but he is our independent interim chair. And he's the one that's actually been able to pull the iwi together. So having that change agent, that facilitator right in the middle there, bringing it all together has been absolutely vital. So we've got the components of a project that really works on a catchment-wide basis, and I think that it's a It's something you should continue to invest in and something that you can hold up proudly and say, Toi Moana are part of this. Any questions?
If I can just note for the record my conflict of interest, should have been start. So we're not making any comments, but just wanted to note you and Chair, the blue away in others conflict of interest.
Just with the treatment wetland, you said in your submission, both to achieve our shared environmental objectives and to provide a solution to the survivability of lowland dairy farming in sensitive catchments. Is there a risk in your eyes that it therefore justifies the continuation of intensive farming? And do you see what I mean? Is there a risk in your eyes of going down that road with that? Or do you think it's an adaptation process? And I'm just talking about the treatment now. I'm not talking about natural retiring wetlands and convents, particularly the constructive treatment.
I think that if we were able to build constructive freshwater treatment wetlands on an industrial scale, that might be a risk. The fact is that we will only ever be able to treat a portion of the water that's coming off the farms. The farms absolutely, the landowners absolutely have to commit to land use change. Even with this wetland, it's a massive, expensive exercise. And again, on a catchment-wide process, I don't want to be talking against it, but on a catchment-wide process, it's really only going to capture a proportion of it. The point of doing this, though, is that so that we can show people that it works, and that the combination of land use change and reduction and runoff from the farms and returning these lands into wetland with a bit of help through the constructive wetland process, we can make a difference. We can make a shift. We can turn the estuary back to full health. Just another point on the constructive wetlands is that out the other side, we're measuring the impact, the reduction, we're measuring the ability of the wetlands to capture carbon. And so there's a whole massive presentation we will do for you another time about blue carbon. So just making a note of that. Right.
Thanks for clarifying. Thank you.
Councillor Lees on Zoom. Jane.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Roanna. I just wonder if you could tell me a little bit about your relationship and the way you work with Waikakapu. We've had a submission from them also, and they talk about the work that they're doing in this catchment. And I was interested to note that they are not so supportive of the constructed wetlands. So I wonder if you could give me a few comments about that. Thank you.
We as iwi attempted to engage with Waikakapu quite early on in the piece, but they were quite determined to follow their own pathway, and iwi was certainly just a tick box and an add-on in their processes. So that's where iwi just withdrew completely and said, no, kia koutou, you go and do your job with your constituents. We're quite happy to take on this project on our own.
Oh. That used to be us one.
Thank you. I'm going to sit down while the slides change. I'm going to stand up.
But you're on the corner.
Tēnā aloha tātou katoa, koutou katoa, Roana Bennett tonu wahau. I'm standing before you for this particular 2-minute period as the kaipaka haere mō te runanga o Ngāti Whakau ki Maki tō. And I have a wonderful quick presentation for you, so we're going to change it up a little bit. Where am I going? I'll manage it for you. Yep. There we go. So, Ngāti Whakau ki Maki tō, we've had continuous occupation in Makatūrohe since the 1830s. Makatū, as you know, is the landing place of Taroa Waka, so there's a lot sitting on our shoulder besides just getting on with life. There's that obligation of caring for Makatū as a significant place for the whole of Te Arawa. The runanga was incorporated in 2002 and is therefore Ngāti Whakau, but also other Māori and anyone who resides in Makatū. We cover the economic, social, educational, environmental and health outcomes for our people. We are involved in te tiriti claims, both historic and contemporary, and my support crew who would normally be here with me today are actually in Wellington. There's the hearings for the Treaty Principles Bill being undertaken right now, and as we go through this battle for the hearts and minds of our country, that's an area that needed the resource today. But I've adopted this crew, who I know all can whakapapa one way or another to Ngāti Whakau. So, kia ora whānau. It's the noise of us in the background of the staunchest supporters, of course. In 2018, we developed the Hapu Management Plan, and we've shared that with council. So, you might not be aware of that, but certainly down in the right down into the dungeons of your respective organisations as councils, there is a Hapu Management Plan, and that shows your organisation how to connect with our organisation. In 2022, we led the Makatū Climate Change Adaptation Plan, and again, that wasn't just for iwi, it was iwi-led, but it was for the whole community. And this is still not working, so you can change the slide for me, thank you. Now, with this slide, I've given you a gift. I've given you a slide with very few words, and for those of you that are fishermen, you will know whether the tide is coming in or out. Any takers on that? No, the tide is going out, and you've probably got about an hour left to get back over the bar and home. Free kahawai for anyone who can meet us at the Makatū bar at the right Makatū launching at the boat ramp on time. But the reason I gave you this slide with no words is that I really need you to hear me on this one. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from our submission. And this part of our submission, there's 3 parts to our submission. This part of our submission is about iwi and hapu as agents to lead change. We implore you to continue your efforts of internal capability building and external outreach. We see as essential the equitable participation of mana whenua in planning, monitoring, project delivery and decision making within our rohe to ensure the sustainable management and restoration of our ancestral lands and waterways, including our rivers, our streams, our wetlands and our estuaries. Those places aren't just another river, another estuary, another wetland. Those places are our home. Those places are our pantry, our kitchen, and we can't access them anymore. For clarity, we expect Toi Moana to continue to embed in its practice the concepts of mana whenua, ahika, tino rangatiratanga, and mana motuhake, and to honour the unique relationship that each hapu has within their environment. I just want you to look around at the rangatiratanga that sits inside this room today. And thank you for coming to the marae, because the rangatiratanga isn't just with us the living, it's here. We have the saying that our ancestors sit on our shoulders to keep us grounded, but they're also there to whisper in our ears and say, ka pai rupuna, you're in the right place at the right time. do this for our people. So please hear us when we say that iwi and hapu are agents to lead change. We are very good partners for you. And here is an example of an engagement model. You have your objectives, we have our objectives. Many of our objectives are different and disparate and will at times see us on opposite sides of the tables. But there are some of our objectives that are neutral. And that's, in that intersection, that's where we have the conversations. That's where we can row that waka harder, faster, further. The second part of our submission is around climate change. Those photos there are all taken in Maputo. You will see the flooding, bottom right, top left. You will see our cliffs with the koiwi coming down as the erosion starts to kick in. And you'll see our marae here on the edge of the estuary. Climate change has already arrived at Maputo. We are already being impacted by climate change. Thank you. Here's an aerial map that shows 40 homes at risk of water inundation, 70 homes at risk of natural hazards, and our cultural infrastructure at risk. Now, our cultural infrastructure, you'll be familiar with the marae, but there's lots of other areas that are cultural infrastructure. So when you talk about infrastructure, you don't often have in your minds our cultural infrastructure, but it's important that any infrastructure plan includes our cultural, our places that are important to us. Thank you. So we led out the Maputo Climate Change Adaptation Plan. We didn't want to wait for someone else to do this for us, but we also knew that we couldn't do this alone. I actually want to flip through these slides quite quickly. So we put together a framework, 10 clicks. Forgot to take the thing on, let's go right around. Yeah, that's it. So we put together a values framework and we have shared that with our Maputo community and they have adopted it wholeheartedly. Thank you. So just flick through these. These are our priorities. I'm not going to dwell on this. I just wanted to show you the extent, the depth of our climate change plan. And we have, this has come to national note and we're often asked to speak at conferences about what we've done in Maputo, but it's a model for engagement with the community. And again, it speaks to the leadership that you can bring to this space. Keep going. We've developed 12 priority projects, and if you look through those, you will see that again, the areas of intersection between us and you. The Maputo Community Emergency Response Plan, we can actually tick that off, we've done that, and now it's a case of maintaining it. Maputo-based food gardens, Maputo circular economy, Maputo infrastructure assessment, all the way down, you will find places that your people can intersect with us. Thank you. And there's our enabling actions to make sure that we can breathe life into the plan. Thanks. So in terms of our submission around climate change, we seek that the climate change is an area for priority focus and investment. We seek that climate change mitigation and adaptation go hand in hand. They're not separate. Adaptation is necessity, mitigation is hope. We have to do both and we have to do both together. And you won't hear this too often, but we do support rates increases to enable you to invest in climate change. Thank you. And I think I'm on the final, yes, he kuki whakamutunga. Just a final word on this, and look at that beautiful wetland. That is, you guys invested in that. That's the Kaituna wetlands. Just as a final word, we just want to say that land use change is an important program to support. We need to support those landowners to make the necessary changes or to exit their businesses. And that has to be ongoing and continuous for the next few decades. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, o te rā te haimate katoa.
Tēnā koe, Luana. Take to the table, any questions, councillors?
Oh, I just got one quick one. Where do you see us being on the opposite side of the table? Because I mean, I know that not all of our mahi is your mahi, because we're to tile. I'd love to know from your perspective.
So that's a nice big question, and I'd love to answer it in detail, but just to give you just a little quick example, is, for example, you've got existing regulations at your fingertips, either your own regulations or national regulations, and they're not always enforced. A lot of the land use runoff that we're experiencing, there's already regulations around to control that, and that's not happening. So it's kind of like that, and it's difficult to come and bang on your doors and say, hey, you're letting this happen, because your organisation's so big. You know, do we do it at a political level? Do we do it at the compliance officer level? Do we do it somewhere in between? Yeah. Small example, but that one really does get us. Okay, kia ora. Thank you.
Our next speaker is up at 2 o'clock, so we will take a short break, and the chair has returned, so he can have a seat, and I will vacate.
Thank you, councillors. Our next submitter is Rahuni Wilson from Tamuika Iwi Authority. Rahuni. Are you going to, you can cover off both from the Iwi Authority basis and Marae Kaituna as well?
Yeah, well, I'm going to just
So you can separate them, let's make it continue.
yes,
Come on.
Rangi te mauna Kaituna te awa, te arawa te waka tapu i ka te iwi. Tēnei au, ko rāta me te rangi katuku I noho, kai moi a koutou. Ko tei kei te mea ki a koutou, nā tira e noho mai, whakahono mai ki a Kuheng Spirit. Tēnā koutou. Hoki te mea ki ngā whānau, tū mai ki tēnei tūranga I te hānei kōrero. I ngā koipoka. Tino kaitoko ki ngā kōrero, kai kōrero ngā tupakawe. O papa mua. Ki te ihu o te aho. Tēnā koutou. Shoko tātou ama. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Tapuiki Authority first up today. I am the Environmental Operations Manager, and I recently come back to the team after a stint in DOC. So that's me in front of you. So kia ora koutou again. So I've got a submission here. I had a bit of a speech repeat, but as everyone's sat here and listened to everyone speak today, I thought the finance covering that, but they're covering that. So I'll let my submission be read, and I'll just sort of cover things generally and sort of fill the gaps on some of the kōrero that's happened today. So I guess the general nature of the Public Use Authority submission is around the capacity and capability building to enable our equitable and effective participation in the management of resources and decision making generally. It's we've been settled for a long time now, but we get settled in, we commenced the journey and I think finally realised that in 2015. And I know on that settlement journey, a lot of you think once you get there, you're there and it's easy. Actually, once you get there, it's even harder. So I just want to give you a bit of a snapshot of our world and some of the work programs and governance groups and advisory groups that we're across and where our capacity is now. So we have a co-governance group as a of our settlement, Te Maru Kaituna. So we have membership there, we also provide operational support for that. We are heavily involved in Te Wahapu o Te Waihi. Part of one of our areas that we share with our the Kaitaki Wali Advisory Group presented this morning. We're also heavily involved in that, if not one of the leading on the way. Te Uru Parawai, which is the resource consent for the wastewater treatment plant. So it's the Kaitaki group for that. Te Uru Te Waka, which is another co-governance sort of arrangement with Western Bay. We have the AFCO Resource Consent Kaitaki Group. We have numerous little advisory groups that play a role in our community supporting work of federal and local government. We also have a hugely under capacity RMA processing responsibilities. So we have one FD that is resourced entirely out of our own means. And to me, this responsibility is not just our responsibility to give effect to our settlement or to have regard for our settlement and responsibilities against resource management. It's also, we're giving effect to your responsibility to our system. So I think there needs to be a bit of a shift in the thinking about how we're supported to do that. We do seek resource from the resource consent applicants, but there is nothing that sort of enables or empowers our participation in them. So some of our other responsibilities of course, is administering settlement actions is a feat in itself and takes a whole lot of resources. We also have a huge responsibility back to our constituency. So we authority, we've got very aspirational and very passionate people, and servicing those aspirations is very tasking and resource heavy. Again, something that we strive for, and we're still achieving. I believe we're hitting punching above our weight, but again, something that we have to do with our own means. We have a few other areas of responsibility too. We participate in our local social groups, community groups, supporting our community boards. We have economic responsibilities that we support, council functions, education, the environment. We have to build our own financial portfolio. And just generally, I guess governance within a little bit. So all I'm saying, all of this is all what we do. It's what we do. And a lot of our time, they volunteer time to be a part of it and provide this service. Not just for ourselves. We here, and we're empowering our communities, we're working with them, we're empowering your abilities and your work pieces as well. So just generally what I'm saying is I'm looking to council firstly to ask for, and I want to acknowledge and I appreciate the support of the staff and all the different programs that they provide support to us. And there's a really good partnership going on there, particularly with the land management officers around mitigating negative impacts on the environment. Really want to commend the council on that and all of the other works and to ensure that we're in the right conversations. So I really want to emphasise that we appreciate that and would like that to be continued, maintained, maybe even look to partnering up and how do we escalate that level of support, because a heightened female group or our capability and capacity can also empower your teams to do their work a lot better. So that's the first part. So thank you and teams for what you provide us and the support and the partnership that we've definitely found. And secondly, and I think it's a rather small ask, it's in my submission of a two-year contribution of 65,000 per year as a sort of a baseline to buffer some of our costs with undertaking everything I mentioned earlier. So we just find a way to make this with nothing, basically. And what we do struggle to do is retain those people that build those really great capabilities that are able to work in partnership with councils and with central government to elevate the level of what we're doing in our community and for our environment. So a $65,000 small ask just to help us keep afloat and hold on to some of those people, their capacity. So it's one FD. Hold on to some of their capacity, because once we do invest in the capacity and capability in our people, we can't continue to pay them. So they go off to other jobs. What we want to do is really hone in and start building a really highly capable operational unit that will be able to complement and deliver not only on our responsibilities under our sort of man, but yours as well in touch. So we've got, in terms of environmental teams, we get a rather large team. We have quite a number of staff under different programs and under funding supported by regional council. So again, our gratitude for that. We'd like to see continued support across these programs. So another thing I want to touch on, one thing that we really want to do is be a little bit more collaborative and coordinated in how we're represented in spaces and in council spaces and forums, and as I mentioned before. So we've undertaken a piece of work that is funded by regional council through the term Manawa Question. Public leading a piece of work there under contract to deliver a bit of a whenua support model around co-governance and how we can, what I've done is I've sat back and I've looked at that, how equitable that co-governance platform is, and it isn't. And there's a piece of work done recently by a young girl about co-governance, and Te Maru was the example. And that was an amazing piece of work, and we just had a presentation just last week, or might have been the week before, but it was just amazing. So it actually gave me a picture into how we're already doing something really well with Te Maru and the support of the regional council, but we want to make that lead this co-governance entity. And in our examples across the country and different examples that we've looked at, we are one of the best examples of that, but we want to do that a lot better. And I believe that by providing this similar support, same support, or even maybe more support to our tangata whenua representation around the co-government, that will raise the equity and not only make the tangata whenua members more effective in co-governance, make the whole co-governance group more effective in achieving its outcomes. So we're undertaking a piece of work with our team and other iwi that are involved in Te Maru Culture, and which will lead into my next presentation. But that piece of work particularly, I think, would be something really amazing that we could try and make that work and help to give some shape, I guess, to what resourcing and what's the detail of that resourcing that we might be able to provide to get that equity and build our capacity and capability. And just, I guess, closing for the Tapuki Authority submission, and like I said, there were a lot more I wanted to cover, but I thought I would hone in on those specifics. I just want to total our whānau again for the submissions and the views that were brought forward, and I just want to compliment all of the whānau's perspectives today, because it tells the story that we're all doing this together, and we're looking for the support. Sure. Any questions on Tapuki Authority?
Let's go.
Thank you for that. I just have a question about where is there duplication that council does, you do that, you say, well, rather than giving people half a job each, and give a full job to somebody. Is there that sort of duplication, or is it actually simple?
No, there's duplication everywhere. So we're really opportunistic. So looking for opportunities with this council, with central government, with philanthropists. We've got some funding. We're always looking for opportunities to try and bring things together to create one entity. So Liverpool's navigating that in itself is a task. So we don't have the luxury of having one resource FTE for one job.
Because I hear that can create problems, as I say, because people do not like it.
It's very complex and everything.
Councillor Mullen.
You've got a really progressive circular economy enterprise scale, haven't you? Can you just touch on that?
With regards to peace,
No, your waste management, yeah, so your upcycling of waste.
we are. So unfortunately, I see who's leading it is in here today, but there is a really progressive piece of work going on.
Yeah.
For in collaboration with our community
Yeah,
about how we better manage waste.
yeah.
But yeah, I can speak to this.
Oh, sure.
But there's something coming, so look for the presentation in the future.
Hey,
Councillor White.
You know, we think we're talking to find enough the topic, make it feel good. Thank you for your presentation, Mark. I mean, one of the things that is very clear, you have so many intersecting relationships. Okay, you mentioned a list of them in the context of work and what you do. Can you comment on the connectiveness within that space? How do you see, because you talk about reciprocity from the council, which is understandable. How's that happening within the collective of projects, I guess, from the Waiari to Kaituna to different things that are involved? There's a whole lot of connections. How's that going?
It varies. So some, like regional council, are very supportive and quite proactive in including our aspirations and working collaboratively. Others are more challenging. And I guess I mentioned all the local forums and whatnot, but you realise too, we're also involved in all of the bill proposals at central government. So we have to contribute to all of them as well. So yeah, we're viewing levels. It's not actually entirely simple at all. So we're leaning on some really key planners to help us to make sense of. And again, just getting those planners in, that's a resource that we have to find. And so there's actually whole matrices that we've created about how we're doubling up, what is collaboration like, what's the health of each relationship. It's not a simple answer.
Right.
All right. I'm just changing slides on my phone. I'm not texting, I promise. I might. Okay. So I'm here today as not a governor on Te Maroa Kaituna. I'm here as a Tapuika representative, but as a sub-project of Te Maroa Kaituna. I'm here with the support of Dean Flavel, who has recently had changed on the governance within Te Maroa, but he was the chair at the time of writing of the submission. So I guess what I'll do is in terms of this submission, is just read out some of the detail that we've asked you, and then I'll speak to the textual questions. So, Te Maroa Kaituna, I'll just take that everyone was already familiar with that, with our regional council. You're the minister of that piece of legislation. So this is all along with us. So we strongly support the retention of staffing and budgets to hold the vision and outcomes outlined in the Kaituna River document and the Tini Aotearoa Kaituna River Action Plan. So this includes continued support for initiatives such as the Focus Catchments Program, Wet Land Creation, Science and Data Services Program, and Dalmorangi support to iwi. We express gratitude to the Baipeni Regional Council to the Secretariat funding provided from 2021 to 24, which has been repurposed to focus on achieving otherwise unfunded project outcomes in our River Action Plan. However, we note that this funding ends in June 30, 2025, and we seek a new allocation of $50,000 per year from July 2025 of $50,000. We have taken Tapuika has said, okay, we could repurpose that money and actually put that against supporting and delivering on some of the outcomes in the action plan. So I'll just talk through three of the pieces of work that we picked up. So one of them is river monitoring and restoration plan that we worked on part of that we delivered in so that plan has been written. We're now in implementation, so that funding going towards that. Secondary, the second one is the delivery of a symposium. We're not that favourable, a river symposium, we're not that favourable of the word symposium, but what we're going to do is we're going to voice some of that funding and do some thinking and some engagement with the community and look at the different pieces that I will need going forward and bring some of the experts in from around the country and have a big one. So that's the second objective of that funding. And the third is what I touched on in my topic of submission is that we've got a piece of funding there to provide a support mechanism to our Maru Whānau members to create more equitable and effective participation in that co-governance group. So what that piece of work entails is a series of wānanga with not only tangata whenua members, but we'll open that up to council members of all councils that are involved and other advisors or any sort of governance or advisory members across our rohe, our takapu. We'll invite them into a space to try and figure out, let's all talk about what are the challenges, what are the disparities that we face, what are the strengths of being a councillor and being supported by rates, dollars, and a huge amount of staff that can do all the preparation and set up computers and everything for you and whatnot, thing like that. So we want to do a bit of a gap analysis with that project, and we want to provide that to our some members to empower their ability to participate. So that's another piece that you've funded, which I think is exciting and doubles down on I spoke to the presentation on co-governance that money that was given to us earlier by Ango, and we really want to bring her in on that and go and enlighten us and how we can do that better. So the project 15 of our river action plan, the creation of a new regional park on the lower Kaitini catchment. It still remains unfunded, so no council, and if you know their river action plan, there's different projects under there, and each council is committed to resource or in whatever way we're committed to resource these different actions. And I must say, looking across all the different other river authorities or local governance entities, Te Maru, as was relevant in the presentation from the young girl, we were quite progressed in terms of co-governance to delivering on the objective of the group. And through that action plan, but one that hasn't been resourced is our regional park. So, I guess generally the regional park is just continuing to resource things like the Wahapu, the Kaitana rediversion, the Kaitana wetland restoration, the Tuakawa that we entered in our arrangement around. Continue to resource those, but also look at the opportunity of creating a band of wetlands across our lower catchment of the Kaitana and crossing over into the Waihi catchment too. So that not only has environmental, it's more commercially sustainable farming and everything. If we start looking at the bands that move up our Takapu from the mountains down to the sea. So that regional park could also be something really, really exciting and creating that liver, what's it up? That's a liver, right? That filters all of that colour. So that's the function of it. Its purpose is to catch all the sediment and all the pollution. So if we can create a thick band of that instead of little pockets of wetland, I think there's a huge opportunity in our action plan, and that's something that remains unfunded that we'd like, and we appreciate the support already provided, but continued support, and that not even resource, but maybe to support and trying to bring other parties into the mix, as has done with Pilar. So I'll dispose off the model quite soon and just say that read the bottom line. In conclusion, we believe that continuing to work together in partnership we can achieve even greater success in protecting and enhancing the Kaitana River and its surrounding environment. We appreciate your consideration of our submission. So double down one more time. Using this vehicle and even our relationship from Tahuika as an example, I see the bones or the foundation of the best working model in the country. So, sure.
Thank you, Russell. Councillors, any questions? Once again. Councillors, our next speaker is Laura, along with Mary. Mary Dillon, no stranger, or always Laura to this forum. And Envirohabs, so those councillors on Zoom, the reference point here is in your hard copy, it's page 47, and on diligence, it's all 1-3. Taking the lead, are you, Mary?
Just very briefly, Kia katoa, and thank you once again for allowing us to come and talk to you today. And my job today is just to introduce my two staff members who will address you, Laura Ragg, our CE, and Fiona Lagan, who is our projects director, and to just acknowledge once again our gratitude to the Regional Council for what is now many years of support. And needless to say, of course, for us, we need further support in the future. And in relation to our most direct submission, the only thing I would say is that we commented on the port shares, and we're supportive of that, provided you can make very, very sure that any downselling of the port shares, the results of that are well and truly protected, just as the port shares have been for the last 3 months. I hope to see some future group of rate case that they might be able to acquire a win. So thank you, Laura and Fiona.
Kia ora koutou, ko Laura Ragg, he mahi ana hau he tūmaki Envirohabs. Thank you again for the opportunity to present to you, and also like to acknowledge that we presented a partnership proposal a month ago, so we don't repeat that content for you today. We believe that we face a number of environmental and climate challenges here in the Bay of Plenty, but what we know is that doom and gloom does not inspire people to change. Warning people of an impending, but in some ways nebulous disaster does not spur people to action. Instead, we believe that positive messages, inspiration, and vision of what can be achieved remove some of the crippling economic items. We see the possibility of what can be achieved in our region, and are proactively seeking that out by delivering programs that will encourage people to take small steps towards this vision.
Sorry, I'll do that for you.
When we were last here, we were wrapping up one of our busiest months of the year, Sustainable Backyards. One of our first tasks was to review the events and make recommendations for changes for next year's programme. What went well, what didn't, how we are reaching people, what demographics are attending certain events, and what our partners are saying. You'll see that our offering of programmes under our CIF application is different from 3 years ago. We've ceased a few programmes, pivoted others, and started new programmes. We never rest on our success of the past. The world is changing, and so must we, and what we offer our communities. We know that Envirohabs programmes align closely with both Plenty Regional Council community outcomes, and this is outlined in our application. Today, we want to highlight several programme areas of success from the last 12 months and some of our plans for the next 3 years. Environmental Bay of Plenty's Green Team app and monthly themes serves as powerful catalysts for optimal change among individuals. By focusing on specific environmental topics each month, we provide structured and accessible pathway for people to engage with key issues. This approach helps individuals focus on that one small step, fostering a sense of empowerment and agency. As awareness grows through our themed campaigns, individuals are inspired to take meaningful actions, whether it is reducing waste, conserving energy, or advocating for sustainable policies. Our monthly themes not only educate, but also motivate and guide individuals towards tangible steps that contribute to a healthier, more sustainable future for our Bay of Plenty region and beyond. We want to recognise and acknowledge that there is lots of great matters going on within the environment sector, and we know where our role sits within that work. Our focus is on sustainability, climate change, and biodiversity improvement. Our audience is the general public, and we focus on the changes individuals can make in their homes, in their backyards, and in their neighbourhoods. This does set us apart from a number of other groups and means that we can share messaging that others can struggle to share. That may sound cryptic, but a great example is around cats. We can share messages around responsible pet ownership and what that looks like because it is the right thing to do. Not because we have the agenda of ridding cats from a specific forest block or area. It's a campaign we are beginning work on with communities around the Western Bay. The evolution of our social media strategy reflects our commitment to engaging and inspiring our audience through diverse and innovative content formats. With the integration of more reels and the introduction of segmented messaging, we are enhancing the impact of our online presence. Reels allow us to deliver captivating short-form videos that convey key messages effectively, catering to the preferences of modern digital audiences. Additionally, our segmented approach ensures that we can tailor messages to specific demographics or topics, maximising relevance and resonance. By leveraging these tools, we are expanding our reach, driving engagement, and fostering meaningful connections with our community, aligning with our mission to promote environmental stewardship and sustainable practices in the Bay of Plenty region. Our social media posts reach many thousands of people within the Bay of Plenty annually. In terms of numbers, this already equates to over a quarter of the Bay of Plenty region's population, and this number is growing. I'll now hand over to Fiona, who will tell you something.
Kia ora. So our marketing includes interactive workshops, community events and educational programs conducted in collaboration with local schools, businesses and organisations. We do try and pitch the right messages to the right people. So trying to speak to whānau about responsible supermarket shopping is just as important as engaging school children around plastic recycling. This different tiers of messaging and different themes allows us to capture people's interest on a range of topics, and we know that everyone has a different environmental hook to get them on board. So while also meeting people where they are on their journey. These initiatives not only raise awareness, but also actively engage individuals with sustainable practices and connects them to other groups within the region. Additionally, our digital presence, as Laura has said, is really strong, and we're active on all social media platforms. And a user-friendly website also offers resources, information, as well as radio newsletters, reaching a wide audience. Programs are varied. Initiatives such as the annual Sustainable Textiles Challenge as part of our Conscious Consumer Month offers practical workshops, regular clothes swaps around the region and activations which all reach a different demographic and help to connect individuals to other initiatives happening throughout the region. So with our Climate Active Festival, planning is well underway for the second one in September. The theme this year is Our Future, and engaging with youth and facilitating conversations around adaptation. We want this festival to become an established part of people's calendar and as successful as our Sustainable Backyards Month that we have in March. Space for Nature encourages people to care for biodiversity in their own backyard by caring for native planting and protecting fauna from pests and pets. Joining up with neighbours to create green corridors and maximising biodiversity benefits. Now, we are piloting this at the moment, but we are working with environmental groups about the benefits of using this to engage with communities surrounding areas where restoration work is currently taking place to support and enhance these efforts. Often these care groups only have a remit to undertake work on the public land, so we can support their work by working with landowners on the surrounding private land. The cats and dogs and the pest plants and invading areas often coming from the neighbours, and we have to start the conversation at individual level. We have also been working with Bay of Plenty Regional Council staff on a pest plant challenge, which is underway at the moment, and we're also running workshops as part of this program. So as part of Space for Nature, we have been engaging with community members in combating moth plant. It's a good one to start with because it's easily identifiable and especially at the moment. This challenge not only addresses a pressing biodiversity issue, but also fosters a sense of environmental responsibility. We would like to hold regular challenges throughout the year and in the future to encourage action from individuals and communities to target different pest plant species. The feedback from the public on this has been overwhelmingly positive, and people are not always aware of the issue of pest plants, but sharing about one species has made them investigate and want to learn about others. Targeting pest plant species builds on the success and work we've already delivered through Predatory Bay of Plenty, which has also expanded to include pest trap libraries around Whananga and Western Bay, and the current plan is for us to expand those pest trap libraries and our coverage areas of Predator-Free Bay of Plenty as well. Lastly, our volunteers are the lifeblood of the environmental sector. Everyone who sets a trap in their backyard, comes along to a beach cleanup, recycles plastic bottle tops, and attends a planting day is a volunteer. We believe in meeting volunteers with their interest and their time commitments. One-off events are often the starting point for entering into regular volunteering. So last year, our community and our specialist recycling volunteers diverted more than a tonne of materials that would have otherwise made their way to landfill, which is a great success. Now, we're always assessing our programs, ensuring that they are meeting their objectives and changing and adapting as our surrounding environment changes. In addition to our current programs, we're looking at our regional presence, as well as how we continue to raise awareness and education around climate change and improving climate resilience across the Roki. And we look forward to partnering with Regional Council to help deliver on your long-term plan and be in a position to deliver more great programs and initiatives that they into communities.
Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, Laura. Good, anything to add, Mary?
No,
You've got a minute left.
I'll respond to any questions if you've got any.
Councillors, questions? Could I just endorse your commentary regarding volunteers? Be interested to know in terms of your reach and your organisations, what's the demographic of your volunteers and how are you fostering the young rangatahi and below in terms of that volunteer ethos and culture?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the event is or the activation, depends on the type of volunteers we get. But a lot of our programs, we are really targeting younger demographic. Like textiles is something that young people are really involved with, and precious plastic is another one. So yeah, some of the cleanups that we do, and often it's a really easy way for them to come along to an event like that, and they're only committing to that one day, but then you see them later and they go, oh, what group says what's happening here, and then they might go and be interested in volunteering elsewhere as well. So with the Climate Action Festival week that's coming up in September, we're actually working with the University of Waikato, and we've got some really passionate students that are helping to shape that. So they're really keen to come along and help run some of the events as well. So it's just an area that we perhaps haven't been involved with yet. So it's knowing what's out there, and that's what we see our job is to sort of connect them to the opportunities. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation. Councillors, Matt Cowley, Tauranga Vistas Chamber. So for those councillors on Zoom, you've got page 352 of your hard copy and all 78 for those on diligent. Welcome, Matt.
Cool. Kia ora tātou. I'll just by way of introduction, yeah, of course, Tauranga Business Chamber, we cover the full Western Bay of Plenty sub-region. We have currently around 600 members, which equates to roughly conservatively 25,000 members, owners and employees, and that's not including the public sector members that we've got. Of course, we're accredited to the New Zealand Chambers of Commerce, and we're part of the International Chambers of Commerce with roughly 45 million members worldwide. So our role is to connect with businesses, build business capability, and champion for business prosperity. So kind of in reverse order to the submission, the Chamber supports the proposed option 2 for passenger transport funding, as it reflects that a number of residents do live in the Western Bay District and commute to work within Tauranga and receive some benefit of others taking passenger transport, but like the school-related traffic. The next item was around regional development and Bay of Connections. So as we submitted in 2022, we supported the disestablishment of Bay of Connections. Essentially, it's no longer industry-led and it's therefore had its useful life. And trying to find value in amongst all the local EDAs. So support that proposal there. The council has a lot to do with economic and regional development. So that covers, and that's delivered through delivering your core services really well. And that includes your environmental data services, your regulatory settings, your resource allocation, of course, your land transport, which are big levers for regional economic development. Just quickly in your plan, there was mentioned, your plan and the regional development activity. There was mention of, well, it had in your financials that there's a $4 million one-off OPEX in year 3. But there was nothing mentioned in the projects or activity. In fact, it says NA, and therefore it's hard to understand from the plan what exactly that $4 million is going towards. If it's there somewhere, apologies. And finally, on the sale of the Port of Tauranga shares, in 2022, we submitted to the council and outlined three key risks of maintaining the status quo. These were around council's own risk and heavy reliance on investment income. Central government's perception that the region isn't properly utilising all of its community wealth assets to get projects before the government comes, as well as sort of helping the community maintain its overall support of course of the port and its enduring success over a 100-year horizon. It appears that you have listened, but we were quite surprised with the proposal that you had come up. Just looking at time, blending time. The main driver behind our 2022 submission was to essentially wean the regional council off its dependency of using that strategic investment income to pay for its day-to-day operations. Back in the 90s and 2000s, its income that it received from Quayside was a bit of a bonus revenue, and now it seems like the council has built an empire quite reliant on this, on its regular fix of investment revenue coming in quite steadily. Many of the regional council services and projects generally fly under the radar of public scrutiny due to being heavily subsidised, heavily subsidised rates. For example, the $4 million I just identified before, but like I said, if it is disclosed, sorry. The Chamber acknowledges that the system of local government is broken, and it's broken across New Zealand. We're actively championing for that to be addressed by the ministers across a number of aspects. So we totally get that. However, many of our members are concerned that councils generally have too much focus on the revenue side, particularly all the conversations at the moment around GST and other things, and equally not enough time is spent on that prioritisation and costs. Overall, there is strong support, community support for the Port of Tauranga. Part of that is mainly due to the community knowing that those profits come back largely, or a chunk of them come back to the community. And this could change if council proceeds with its lowest option of reducing their ownership down to 28%, and then the remaining shares are publicly traded across the globe. As we submitted in 2022, the greatest economic development initiative that this council can do is support the Port of Tauranga's enduring social licence to operate. I appreciate that you are limited with what you can say publicly through this, because obviously publicly listed company, but the rationale for selling the port shares is a little bit murky, as some of your consultation documents, well, imply, or how I interpreted it at least, is that the proceeds of the sell down would stay within Quayside to diversify your investments to provide a more consistent revenue for the regional council. However, I'm kind of cautious around how true and to what degree this is, and whether this is indeed the case. On page 5 of that PwC divestment report, it said, however, councillors have expressed an interest in the creation of a new regional benefit fund and have discussed the potential for using some of its proceeds, special infrastructure projects, etc., and any sale proceeds used for these purposes would materially change the financial impacts assumed in this divestment case. So look, in summary, without assurances on Quayside's investment framework and will it go to greenwashing ESG investments, or if the proceeds will go to unknown infrastructure projects, the Chamber recommends Regional Council takes a precautionary approach to sell down some of its Port of Tauranga shares to keep no fewer than 40%. Finally, do I have time? Yeah, a little bit of time. Look, we've heard some rumblings. I'm not sure whether they actually submitted or not, so I won't name them, but we heard some rumblings from Rotorua that there was some questions around, which has lasted for 3 decades, around how the investment income is allocated across the region. So it might be a useful exercise. I don't think that conversation is going to go away, but it might be a useful exercise to do a per capita split across Western, Eastern and Rotorua, just to see how those have been allocated across infrastructure grants, the water reticulation subsidies, contributions to river schemes, and of course your general activities which cover the whole region. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Matt. At the risk of having listened to you, you said just now that councils don't concentrate enough on their, I think you said that, don't concentrate enough on their expenditure side. And you also made a comment in your submission that implies that, or doesn't imply, actually says that subsidising rates is not a good use. So I'm getting the message that some of our spending in your submission might not be good spending. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, as we know that there's been a lot of unfunded mandates, and we know some regional councils, including Westland and Northland, are having to make some pretty challenging rates conversations and other things, and sacrifice in terms of civil defence, which was just a headline grab. But essentially, it's because of that enduring reliance on that investment fund. There are a number of projects which it'll be hard for me to pick them out, but that's more of a general comment from the members to say that typically conversations happen on revenue and looking for revenue as opposed to looking at the optimised delivery and prioritisation, which is a lot of what the private sector is having to do at the moment. So can I list them right now? No, because the long-term plan doesn't go into that level of detail like that $4 million example. Yeah, it's hard to know specifically.
Thank you, Matt. Could I just say, in terms of your commentary, you made reference to the funding and financing local. You would not have heard from this organisation the issue about GST being returned. That might be a representative statement made by LGNZ. We rest our case in terms of preserving our position.
Noted.
Thank you. Councillors, we now have the next submitter, which is Sharon Campbell, who is on Zoom, and she's waiting. Welcome, Sharon. For your hard copy users, you've got page 77, and diligent is IND 49.
Okay, is that me?
Yes, that is you.
Oh, kia ora, pena tātai. Just want to, I'm taking excerpts from the NEBOP inquiry Y1750. I've presented before the Waitangi Tribunal on 5 occasions so far, but not specifically about public works issues, 1870 to 2010, by Heather Bassett and Richard Kay. Yeah, so the sections I've taken are 1 to 5 in this report, OPRC 3 to 6 in 1939, where our land that was taken under, is now known as State Highway 35, declared public works no compensation. And then there's 3.1.3 OPRC Coastal Road, State Highway 35 in section 142, in the 1960s and 70s from Waioa Bridge, where our land is right beside the Waioa Bridge and regularly floods. And section 143 as well as section 144, the Public Works Act used outdated title descriptions and proclamations. It was common for Public Works Department to rely on registered title when surveying, not the Māori Land Court titles. What little compensation would have been paid out was taken under unpaid rates, and then 147 used to pay. So they just essentially take it to pay outstanding rates, you know. So this is land. Whakatō here lost 140,000 acres under the Land Settlement Act 1865. So, you know, right up to the Waioa Bridge, all the flat arable lands was, you know, just blatant theft, rape, pillage of our people. And then the roads heading down the coast, including our land, which was left, and all the hapus were put on without, you know, because their land had been stolen. So I've, you know, on a personal level, my parents and now we have paid the rates on this block. It's multiply owned land under Māori land title, as well as small pockets of European title and European title land. I understand from my mum, you know, they never put it under European title, but, you know, we know te kōti whenua Māori, not the te kōti whenua was you know, was a process to of theft of Māori lands, and the issues that our people had to contend with trying to get to the hearings. Now, in relation to our piece of land, which is on both sides of State Highway 35, but in close proximity to all Maramutu Marae, which is now, you know, part of State Highway 35. There were culverts put in several years ago, and it's actually eating away at our land. I've contacted Waka Kotahi, I've contacted the regional council, I've complained about it, there's been no action. And then, you know, that's why I was so annoyed that I was sent you know, from the regional council, these extra rates and demands from you people. And that's why I'm presenting today. You know, Māori have been blatantly disadvantaged through the institutional racism of organisations like your own, like the current government, successive governments and councils. And, you know, councils and bylaws have stolen our land, you know, for those that haven't paid rates, but we have paid the rates on this multiply owned land. And yeah, so that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm presenting. I'm glad it's been hosted at a marae. I would have liked to follow tikana and do a better mihi, but, you know, we're rushed. As is these processes that are out of our control. I'm presenting on behalf of my ancestors, my whānau, and future generations that we are tired. We've had enough of having to pay, and the white privilege of farmers that you know, were soldiers given the land, as well as you know, under the pretext of theft. And, you know, when do we get a break? You know, the pollution of our rivers, of our waterways, the state of this climate crisis that we're all living in. I live in Gisborne. We were here during Gabriel, Cyclone Gabriel. I saw the damage firsthand. We live and breathe it. We have land interests in the Tairāwhiti as well, and our waterways are in a terrible state by, you know, following the capitalist farming or the runoff. I grew up on a dairy farm, so I know what dirty dairying is like, because I grew up on a dairy farm in the Eastern Bay of Plenty. So yeah, I'm here to wage collection and all together with because we're reside, our land is by floodable, is right by the river. So I don't know if I've used all my 10 minutes up, but you know, I'm quite happy to carry on.
So we'll see if we can fill up with questions, Sharon. So thank you for your submission. Can I just clarify that in your written feedback to the proposals as outlined by the council, you agree and you support those proposals to do with the remission of rates to various degrees on Māori multiply owned land?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
And
Thank
even
you.
the European title land, because much of that through your court land court system, which was designed to dispossess Māori, we had little control over that. And yeah, the least you can do is waiver those of our whenua that, in our particular case, because we're right by the river, our land floods regularly. And for 70 years, we've paid the rates. You know, none of our other relatives who have shares to the land have been able to contribute over the years, but we have.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any questions? It appears not, Sharon. So thank you for your submission.
How much time do I have left?
2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so, you know, just back to my submission and, you know, with the, you know, with all of us presenting this, we gotta like to ask you a question, you know, is this going to be, authentically and genuinely, address our voices, as Māori? Because, you know, it's just generations of inequalities and what little land wasn't stolen or taken under a whole raft of unscrupulous laws, including the Validation of Invalid Land Transactions Act, let alone the rest of them. You know, what do you, are you going to genuinely listen to our voice and implement it?
Thank you, Sharon. So that is not for today. Today is to hear from submitters. Our deliberations will be on the 28th of May. And after that date and deliberations, you will get an answer to your question.
Okay, so that'll be via email. Will it?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to present to you all in Huria Marae. My ancestress Muriwai is one of the pau there in that whare, and we have close whakapapa to Ngāti Kahununu, Tamate Pōkai Whenua and Iwi Pupu with our marae and at all Maramutu. So mihi nui kia koutou te haukaina nō reira. Tēnā koutou, tēnā hoki tātou katoa.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thank you. Right, next presenters. We've got Nawa Hall. And I understand Nawa will be assisted by Graham Cameron. And Graham, you will be doing the talking. So I've been told. Nawa, you're quite free to say something.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Actually, that was very good, Mr. Chairman. They just decided, oh yes, no, we'll both go over this. So I just wanted to start as a submitter and the chair of Pirirako Tribal Authority. Maybe to you all, maybe kia koutou. We're very pleased to be here, and as I'm sure you all know, we're taking our submission as read, and Graham will represent our hapu in terms of the kōrero behind that. So kia ora tātou.
Tēnā rā tātou, I toi pahi anei rā te mea atu ki rā au mātou nei whanaura, whakatūpere tēnei tō mātou tūpuna, ki te whāriki hea nā kaupapa ki mea mātou. Nā reira, riki ki a rātou tātou kia kōtou i ngā rangatira o kauni hera arohe, karanga mai ki a mātou i tahara mai ka tūna rā hoka. Just an acknowledgement to all of you for making the space for us to present today, and as I look around the table, many of the faces, I just want to acknowledge the significant years you put into civic leadership for our community. So, I was coming here, driving back from Auckland, reminded, of course, of the significant amount of infrastructure works, the significant amount of challenge and growth that's happening in our area for Pirirako. And at the heart of our submission is our view of what it means to be leaders and partners in relation to that growth and development. So many of you, well, some of you may know, Pirirako weren't super keen on signing Te Tiriti o Waitangi when the sheet arrived here in 1840, and yet in 12 years ago, in the deed of settlement for Ngāti Rangirangi, many members of Pirirako signed that deed acknowledging the role of the Crown in relation to the Waitangi. I think it's worth a quick reflection on the fact that in doing so, we did so in the trust that the kawanatanga, the good governance for the benefit of all of Pirirako, of Ngāti Ranginui and Tauranga, in this instance would be led by the council. And two, that our aspirations for mana motuhake at Pirirako would be supported and protected as we protected our Timonana Tiratanga. In addition to that, finally in relation to Article 3, that our whānau would achieve equity and social and community outcomes. And so at the heart of our submission today is Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and our submission is in relation to that our expectation is a reciprocal relationship between Pirirako and the Regional Council. I've been in a marriage 29 years this year, some ideas around partnership, and reflecting on that, I think that when we're talking about partnership, we're talking about risking together, talking about sharing together, we're talking about building together. And so in light of that, our submission then is that we ask the council to confirm its commitment to Te Tiriti o Waitangi through the planning process, through a Te Tiriti statement, and also to realign the strategy and operational functions to give effect to that commitment. In practical terms, we see this being done in a number of ways. First of all, of course, the support of our deed of settlement, both elements that are settled and those that are pending, which is an ongoing process, and obviously we'd like to see your partnership with us in that. The endorsement of the use of our reo rangatira, te reo Māori, and council documentation, strategies, communications and other materials, in other words, upholding it as an official language and as the language of partnership between ourselves and you. Thirdly, the confirmation of the relationship agreement between the Waitangi Regional Council and Piriraka and Hapu to solidify the way that we work meaningfully together. And then fourthly, we would like to see Te Arapautanga being elevated as an overarching goal, to provide more weight to that importance. I think that centrality of engagement, of partnership in Te Arapautanga and the fantastic foundation that will support our own relationship aspirations. But in light with that, then the relationship agreement that I mentioned there, we are here asking for a commitment in terms of an associated budget that allows us to, be active in speaking to our aspirations and leading and driving our aspirations for Pirirako alongside the council in our project. The number of areas we can talk to in relation to that, many of them you'll be unsurprised about. For example, we want to see a mana orite relationship with the regional council. That relationship also extends to other external local and central government agencies, our industries, our businesses, and that in our local area. We have a particular interest in how we manage emergency management in our area. We've had a number of instances over the last few years where we've had cause to reflect on the role that marae and our hapu community can play alongside you in supporting our local community. Also, support from you in developing our hapu management plans, so engagement forums, for example. And then, of course, there's the major infrastructure that's going on and the support that we would like from you to be able to do that well. For example, to continue Northern Link Stage 1 and Stage 2. So all of these are to say that meaningful engagement is practical engagement, requires practical support to allow us to be a tiriti partner who supports the regional council as a representative of the kawana. We're doing on that, and of course there, so that's the central element of our submission. We'll take it as read, the other elements, and we'll leave it to you to ask any questions you might have.
Kia ora, Graham. Thank you very much for a very comprehensive submission. And I think the tenor of your submission is it's what we do together as partners as opposed to what you might write on a bit of paper and say you're going to do. So I hope I've captured that tenor right. Councillors, any questions? Councillor White.
Tēnā korua, angi kia korua. Re rātou, yeah. Just a question on the settlement process that you've been going through, just for some clarity. Is this an individual treaty settlement approach, or is it part of the collective? Just my clarity. Makes sense. You mentioned the treaty and the settlement.
So the data center was signed with Ngāti Rangi Nui, it's hapu-centric settlement, but the hapu-centric elements of that really are triggered following the third reading in Parliament, which we haven't got to yet, so still at that stage of, I suppose, the interregnum. Yeah.
No, so other than we're an unsettled iwi.
Councillor McMillan.
Not emotional.
The treaty settlement.
I think that's the point of today. My question is around your support for or request to investigate the establishment of the marine reserve. So I just wanted to clarify, are you in support of marine reserve versus marine protected areas? In other words, no gathering kai in a marine reserve whatsoever? Or I just want to unpack that a bit so that I've got clarity on what you're requesting.
So a kai is not protected from all use.
Yeah.
It's protected from commercial use. And I guess as a principle for the rākau, we recognise the degradation of the moana and ways and want to ensure that our cultural practices are to protect spaces.
Yeah. So remaining the right cultural high gathering, but enhanced protection. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Councillor White.
Yeah, just in the question, you comment about the potang, and you make an overarching goal. So you don't see that as being an overarching goal as it sits right now in the long-term plan?
Given the environment, we would like it confirmed again in the coming plan that it remains an overarching goal. So it's not disputing that it is, but just saying that in the current environment, there's lots of pressures on relationships with iwi uproot.
Could I thank you once again, Nava and Graham? Appreciate your consideration and effort you put into submissions. Really appreciate it. Councillors, we're adjourned until 3:20. For Raymond Bennett. Arrange and welcome Raymond as she's speaking on behalf of the Te Arawa Ki Tai Trust. For those councillors on Zoom, the references on your hard copy, it's page 391, and on your diligent, it's all 83. Welcome again, Raymond.
Is someone going to do mine? Are you going to do it?
Yeah,
Press the button for my PowerPoint. It was loaded in.
Yes, it's going to show now.
Shall we load it on? It's a Is that one? Okay. Thank you for making time to hear my submission. I'm just going to show you a whole lot of photos because I can't add anything, I don't think, to the written as you've got questions. I actually found it hard to criticise anything in the long-term plan, unfortunately. I just thought it was an awesome plan based on the scene. Yes, I think so. So we'll let you have that one. So I'm chair of this trust, and I think I've said that in the written submission. And we're a Māori environmental trust, and I'm just going to show you the projects we're involved with, the photos. And then, and my purpose, like most people, is to come here and see if there's room for funding, some I'm not, I think we need to go beyond grants. It just doesn't do the job. And I think there'd be opportunities to our mutual benefit. I'm not asking for a handout. We'll carry on with what we're doing. Our values are, we stick to our values and our, and all the stuff we do. We don't do it to chase money. But a lot of those values cross over with what council's doing. So, and I'm just going to put in a plug for our trustees. One of our trustees did her orals for her PhD yesterday and passed. I think I've got the most qualified and most awesomeness group of mighty women trustees on an environmental trust in Aotearoa. So I'll make some, and I just want to say we miss out on a lot of the funding because we're not iwi or hapu. We formed after the Rena, and so we're just a mighty environmental trust. We don't represent any hapu, and we operate out of Makati. And I looked through those acts, the local government acts changed recently, but prior to that it was said Māori, and now it says iwi, hapu and Māori organisations. And the Resource Management Act quite often still refers to Māori, so you shouldn't have to worry if you decide to go Māori instead of iwi and hapu when you're looking at partnerships. So I'm saying that. And so I've got the photos in 3 different sections, and this is a project we do involving schools. We probably make some of them just now in catering for schools. Those are the schools we do deliver to schools that have a kaupapa Māori class. So there's 5 classes we deal with for the seagrass. We have requests from other schools. We've sort of finished, it's too cold now to go out into the estuary or around the water. We'll resume again when it gets a bit warmer. But this is the Makati School. This is the seagrass program we do. We had a nice grant from one of the developers we work with, and we bought microscopes because we know the schools can't afford them. And we take them. So this is Makati School kids. And it's lovely when they look at those microscopes. This is Te Ako Ki Papamoa. They were out this week in the estuary seagrass monitoring and found another new patch of seagrass that had just started. So they learned their lesson well because they found some more seagrass. Let's back a bit. That's part of the mātauranga that we teach and tie in the seagrass, the stream seagrass, whakapapa seagrass, and how it's connected to the whale and the tōhoro kauri tree. That's Nana Raymond reading the story and the whakaui marae. And that's Makatu kids, Makatu kids just having a photo shoot at the front of the marae there. And this one we do also give more money to the Makatu kura. And that's last year we funded them going learning how to yacht, just introduction to yachting, out on the water stuff. So not particularly concerned with the environment that one. Then, so those are our school programs, and I have a kaitiaki program, which includes all those things. I'll show you photos of those. So we do the seagrass monitoring, and then we do the seagrass in the estuary. That's regional council's attempt, that with a plastic mesh net, but that's around the spot where we monitor. And really our aim is to make people aware, raise awareness of how important it is to climate change, and why we need to clean up the streams that discharge into the river, because in our opinion, it's silt coverage that
the seagrass has to fight my sulphur. And that's the poor remnant seagrass patch. So it'll die off a bit because it is a plant, flowering plant. Now it's getting to winter. But it struggles to survive. And that's, this here is seagrass monitoring at Pukina at Little Waihi Estuary, the Wahapu there. It used to be, you know, even earlier this year or even late last year, it was really healthy, but it's struggling as well. And we're working with Pukina School to address that, do some things like, one of the things we're going to do is pay for the school to put a notice up and have the kids put the message on and the notice be in their name. And like some of the things that's happening is people are riding their motorbikes over it, that sort of stuff. So the kids are really onto it. They're lovely to work with. We work with Cawthron on a paralytic shellfish poisoning program, testing pipi or kaimwana in the estuaries for paralytic shellfish poisoning. Last year was our first wānanga with Cawthron, and according to their PR person, it got 10 million hits overseas, the publicity that came out of it. I couldn't believe it. But I had a niece who was from Pukea who contracted paralytic shellfish poisoning, and she was the one being interviewed and speaking about what it's really like, and it's really scary. So that's my daughters there with Rupas bending over and the Cawthron scientists collecting pippies and that clean water from Little Waihi Estuary. We got some more funding this year. Last year we did that with a $2,000 grant. We had our one from Regional Council. And this year, Cawthron did a submission, did a funding application just for the iwis to be involved. And they're not going to be taking any, you know, anything off the top of that. So that's going to be helpful. This one here is in Makatu, the Waitupuia stream. So if you're familiar with Makatu, that's the pump station before the straight to the marae. At the pump station, the red line is the original pass of the Waitupuia stream, which has got a lot of cultural history. It was where our ancestor Ehinga put whitebait in there. You might question how he got it, but anyway, he put it in there. And the whitebaits still go to that corner of the estuary. You know, it's still whitebait going, trying to get there. So we're going, that's on Taurua land, and we're going to turn that drain, which sort of is that like an elbow there, called Singleton's drain. We're going to turn it, follow the original meanders and restore the original stream pathway. It'll be good for the whitebait, it'll be good for the estuary. And those corners provide habitats for fish and whitebait, etc., etc. Catch this siltation. And because it's on Taurua land, we hope that it will get more of the landowners that abut the Singleton strain all the way up to Paingaroa. I hope they'll come on board and let us work on their properties. Just now, this drain, as a drain, is the biggest polluter of the estuary. So it's an ambitious program. We've got, I think we zoomed with the experts yesterday. And our trust itself is putting some 12 to 15,000 in a PR plan to help influence or to help get other stakeholders on board. Oh, that was supposed to, I don't know where this one's come from. I think that's supposed to be a picture of the drain. It's hard to see, but it's pretty dirty. Yeah.
I thought it was a better picture on that, but never mind. I have to go to the second one. I had to divide this into two. Sorry about this. Is there a second version?
Yeah, just like.
Yeah, I'll have those on things. Yes, that's it. So this part is some of the work that we do in our trust with Ngāti Pūkeo Environmental Society or for them, so with or for. And this is water consent, so we deal with a lot of the applications for water consents. And this was a delightful place to go to and see all the things they do to take care of their water. I said, because of all the stuff they've done, I'm sure regional council are involved. And they just love showing us too. And so we said, well, you can have a water consent without any conditions, as long as you let us bring kids in to see what you're doing. Of course, they love that. And here's their wetland, just marvellous. And then we worked with Bay Gold, and you'll recognise this because Regional Council have put funding into this one at the corner of Maniatutu Road and State Highway 2, a wetland there that really works. I think Regional Council paid 50% of the costs here. Our monitors did the cultural monitoring of the earthworks for free. That was our contribution. And then we got the pull over to name it and bless the site. This is other work we do, cultural monitoring. So these are getting archaeological surveys done on land where people want to change them into mostly into kiwifruit farm. This is a pit. Even though they don't have registered archaeological sites on, we insist that they do an archaeological survey, and only one of those places that we insisted didn't show archaeological sites, and it was only a short run in a swamp. This here is a storage pit that's been uncovered, but quite normal. This is a bigger one, you can see. And we call these ones the Hakari pits because you can tell where they've hung kai on posts across the pit. And that probably, that cutting to the edge on the dark side there would have been the steps down into the storage pit. So that's the archaeologists, I think, with the orange around there. And we train cultural monitors to go and to monitor with them, and our cultural monitors are assistant archaeologists. They know how to dig, they don't just sit there like some do and watch. They look for potential archaeological sites and evidence. And our purpose is to register as much information and history as we can before the site is destroyed. One of our younger ones, this is how good they become, saw this little speck in the earthworks, and it turned out to be a tooth. So that's how good they become. And in the end, we found 5 koiwi in that particular place, not this place. I'm just showing this one, the nearest archaeology there. These are little stone hearth. That's their fireplace. That's the remnants of a house, and that's their fireplace. We actually picked up the dirt in those stones and we're going to put them somewhere, just so kids can see, though that was post-European. So at the same site, we found was the 3rd gun pits which were used during the land wars, but had never been recorded at this particular place. So they gun pits, so you can tell they're straight lines. They've got a little pits where you stand and it faced south towards Watamaraka, not at that further on up the road. But the kiwifruit farms, the new farms, it's a pleasant, generally it's a pleasure working with them because they're happy to provide areas for planting, native plants, and for looking after waterways. They have no trouble accepting that. The older ones are a bit harder to deal with. And then consents again with regional council, some of the issues that happened with the Pomakawa. This, I don't know if this was going to end up in the Little Waihi estuary, I think it does, but only the erosion and what has to be dealt with stop the sediment ending up in the estuary. This was a side stream and regional council took us there. This is in the Pukapoko River. So we work in the Pukapoko, another river that feeds into the Little Waihi estuary. And that is on Māori land blocks generally. And we usually we've got a whakapapa connection, so it's easier to approach them. And though we can't promise what we can do, because you know we've got to work it out budget. And one of the blocks on the Pukapoko is in its fairly natural state, and it still has a sandy sort of loam in front of it. And it has a lot of puna, natural punas on it, which is still there. So it's quite a special site. This is the Pomakawa River again, sediment, you know, erosion happening, carrying the sediment down to Little Waihi estuary. This is not far, I think, from Old Coach Road, somewhere around there. And then I just finished with that. And this is part of the Pomakawa River that's still natural. That's lush watercress growing there. When I say natural, it's still got a lot of natural habitat around and there hasn't been any canalisation. And we plan to take some of our Pikiau Paitiaki on a hikoi up that river. They'll be monitoring for us. We'll be doing a monitoring the flow to establish a suitable minimum cultural flow. Yes, but leave out a good note. So that's really my presentation, Mr. Leader.
Thank you, Raven. Much appreciated. Just one question for me because we've gone over time.
Yeah.
In terms of the extension and the learning of science with your tamariki,
yes.
Do you utilise the resources of the House of Science here in Tauranga?
Of what? Of
the House of Science? No?
No. No, it doesn't. We use my Tauranga Māori to hook them into the science.
Yeah.
So that we've got our own resources basically that we've developed with Māori teachers and then no, we don't.
But I just think it's an idea. You know, if you want to look at what services they offered in terms of, you know, microscopes, how you use those sort of things, and endearing in kids that awareness that science is really interesting, and it can be seen in the context of Mātauranga as well. Thanks very much, Raven. Much appreciated.
Just a comment, Raven.
Oh, sorry.
Would advise you not to show my nice figure, some of my nice figure, but over that would respect you.
Very sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raven.
Thank you, yes.
Right, councillors, next submitters, Bill and Shad, no need no introduction, presenting the submission from Tauranga 6.
Kia ora koutou. Kia ora anō. Thank you for taking the time for us to present the Tauranga City Council submission. But first, I just want to make some acknowledgements. And I didn't do that earlier in the submission way. I do want to acknowledge opportunity that the regional council has to actually come out to Māori communities and to engage with submitters, so whether they be Māori submitters or general submitters. And I think from the Commission's experience in doing that, I suppose just kind of increasing the breadth of connection into communities, and also for non-Māori having the opportunity to come and engage in a space that can be unfamiliar, but then again, coming to a council meeting is unfamiliar to a lot of our community. So balancing it out. So just really want to acknowledge the regional council and their efforts. We'll take the submission as read, but there are a number of points I think we just kind of want to highlight. And Bill and I will, I've got a few of the items and then I'll hand over to Bill. Firstly, Manawa Tapu Papa, you'll be aware that the Tauranga City Council's making major investments into the city centre, and that was initiated when the Commission really started, signalled by the development of the Council Administration Building at 9 Devonport Road next to the Regional Council. That thing's flying up at the rate of knots. And then also plans to redevelop the civic site down on Willow Street and connecting down through to the water. You'll be aware that it's just over 300 million, 306 million, and we've committed our ratepayers to half of that through a IF arrangement, 151 million. And then for the Commission to then source the balance through grant funding and other sources. And so one of the requests, I suppose, is those other sources. And so the request is to regional council, and there are opportunities, I suppose, to partner. We probably, estimates are, we've probably collected about 100, probably just close to $100 million worth of grant funding. We do have the balance reserve that we could fill through divestment of assets, and we have an asset reserve. But ideally, we don't want to draw on that. We don't want to draw on that. Ideally, filling the balance through other sources of funding. And you'll see it in the submission request. I'm aware also that the Regional Council also supported the Rotorua Lakes Council of the museum in 2021, which was about 4.1 million or thereabouts. Given we're probably twice the size of Rotorua, I expect something in the rounds that would make a contribution towards the model. Leading on through that, there's also waterfront developments from the Marine Precinct, and we've been working through a divestment program with a potential operator and owner of that facility, and then connecting through to the Strand. So there's also other opportunities, I think, for yourselves and others to contribute toward the redevelopment of that waterfront. In there, we've also got some environmental enhancements through a significant ecological sponge. And we've got eco pods that grow the sponge. And as I'm told from Waikato University, they're quite significant of national and international significance. Leading through to a couple of other points, waste management. Regional Council does have a role when it comes to waste management, and we're keen to kind of partner with you in that role, showing some leadership when it comes to how we manage and deal with waste across the whole region. And in our submission, we've made some suggestions around the appointment potentially of an internal resource, Regional Council to work with TLAs, Regional Council from a leadership point of view, from a pollution mitigation perspective, and also consenting. And then also a refresh of the waste management strategy for the region. And I know that Anne's been quite hot on that topic, engaging across the region for the other TLAs and how we better manage our waste. And the last one I just wanted to note was the Wairau River strategy. And many of you will be aware that the strategy is long overdue for review. And we've had requests from mana whenua themselves that it is time to look at reviewing that strategy, given all the development up the Wairoa River corridor. Thinking about Tauriko West development, State Highway 29 enabling works, long-term planning for State Highway 29, and then the Western Corridor. The Wairoa River strategy is an important collaborative community mana whenua council document that would provide some clear direction around how we manage impacts, particularly on that river corridor. And those requests that come directly from Te Rangi themselves, in line with their hapu for Te Kawaiaro. I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thanks, Chair. So I just wanted to pick up some points around the sell down of shares and also transport planning and funding. And certainly from a commission or council perspective, really support in terms of what the regional council is proposing to do in terms of that sell down. So no particular concerns around what we've outlined in the submission is to respectively suggest in terms of some conversations then with the community in terms of that investment and how potentially those funds or investment could be utilised. And obviously there are options in that, whether that's continuing to offset some of the rates or investing in particular strategic outcomes that actually may arise through some of that community engagement and discussion. And as part of that, what potentially some of those long-term benefits may be in terms of where some of that investment may be best placed throughout the region. So that's a suggestion that we've clearly outlined. And just in terms of, and it's outlined in the consultation document, and it's figure 1, where it summarises the case for the sell down for the Tara Limited share. And we've just highlighted whether there perhaps needs to be a bit of a teasing out of that, where it's highlighted that the strategic and financial outcomes for the region with any potential sell down should probably be perhaps clearly outlined in addition to those matters that fall under their strategic and financial pillars. So just a suggestion for consideration and potentially adding to the reasons or the argument for undertaking the sell down. Just like to move to transport, and 2 or 3 points there. We note in terms of the 20% motor target, which is ambitious in terms of regional public transport planning. Really just wanted to highlight in terms of with that in place, what the increased level of service and then the attendant funding required over time to achieve that 20% mode share. And I think I might stand to be corrected, it might be around about 3 or 4% or thereabouts at this point in time. So just highlighting that and really seeking some clarification in that space. Also noting and certainly strongly supporting the inclusion that's in the draft long-term plan in terms of the funding for the park and ride trial in Papamoa. And it's probably been fair to say that previously, taken some time in terms of TCC getting into that space, but certainly really keen in terms of progressing that trial. And then potentially over time, the potential for other sites. So we clearly see, and then going forward, that continued joined up approach by both Tauranga City Council and the Bay Plenty Regional Council. So those were the two of the points I just wanted to tease out for transport planning. And really, just before I finish, and it's not in the submission, given Shad opened in terms of acknowledging and the ability in terms of presenting, I'd really like, on behalf of the Commission, given this is probably the last time the Commission will see all of the regional councillors. We've got some joint committees, but that will just be some of the Commission generally, and then some of the council. So we'd really like to acknowledge and thank you in terms of the last 3.5 years. From our point of view, it has been a bit of a roller coaster, but certainly the relationships that we feel have developed between the City Council and the Regional Council have been really effective and really have worked well, fine. There have been the odd bump along the way on particular issues, but sometimes that's life. But really wanting to appreciate that, because at the end of the day, in the Western Bay Plenty sub-region, one council can't do everything alone. So it does take that joined up approach and effort. And all we can hope that going forward with new governance after the 20th of July, that commitment to that joining up and doing things together carries on and grows. So, Chair Doug just wanted to acknowledge that over the last 3.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, thanks for those words of appreciation. But I'm sure, given the tenure you've been at the TCC helm, we'll make sure that there's an occasion where we invite Anne along as well. So, thanks very much, councillors. Any questions of Chair or Bill? Just one from Councillor.
It's not really related to the submission, but when you talk about the wharf, the Fisherman's Wharf, I'm wondering if there's any heritage value, like will that just be demolished and rebuilt, or is there some kind, will there be some lasting protection of those built? Because I know they just look like tin sheds, but they actually do have a historical value there, and I just wondered what the plan is for that.
So the team are going through a condition assessment to try and understand the condition. A number of our wharf structures require a lot of funding and maintenance at the moment. Many of them are down in the Marine Precinct, the Bridge Wharf. That's costing about $1 million a year just to keep it running. So those things are quite significant. But we are getting a condition assessment on these structures to understand, I suppose, what the long-term viability of keeping these things. I mean, ultimately, it's about keeping people safe that use these facilities. There is a heritage element to it, and I think we need to be mindful of that as well. We are keen to see some structures, it may not be these structures, but some kind of facilities continue to operate in these locations. So we just need to stick through that, understand the current status of all of these structures, and then think about how we develop these things to provide for community access.
Thanks, Shad. Jane Nees on Zoom, you have a question?
Kia ora, Shad and Bill. Just wanted to ask you about your submission point on the Wairau River and request for funding in our long-term plan to support the development and future monitoring of a whole of the Wairau catchment for management and river, freshwater planning. How does that interrelate with the Wairau River strategy? because I think we've had concerns for a while that it's unclear about when that is going to be refreshed and how that fits in with the development of Tauriko West. So I think it's a piece of the puzzle that we need to understand when developing a whole of catchment management plan. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we do need to review that document. I think it's been discussed on a number of occasions, even at Smart Growth from memory. And then leading into, I suppose, the aspiration from Manukau themselves, the iwi authority and the hapu, about some of that detailed assessment work using Mātauranga and other techniques to understand the impacts and other opportunities on the river. So yes, I think we do need to be working together to review the plan, and then ultimately that might direct, I suppose, where ongoing investment might be required.
Very quickly, in regard to the Manawanaki or how confident are you, because none of us have got the crystal ball, of that staying distance for development with the new council coming in?
From a funding point of view, so the IFF essentially commits the council. The IFF is a off-balance sheet externally funded through private funding, and there's an expectation that would be repaid over the next 30 years. So that essentially blocks the council into delivering the whole of Te Manawanaki. The other 150 odd million, we've secured roughly about 100 million through other grant funding, through TEC, our waters funding, some refinancing of some of our assets, and then we also have about 50 million sitting in a reserve fund that we could fund, we could use to deliver funding to them. There's always a risk. There's always a risk, but then there's risk when it comes to, I suppose from a legal point of view, the challenges from others. So if the council were to start filling back things, I think there's a whole lot of risks around, legal risks around.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chantel. Councillors, we're on to Chantel Padgell, Forest and Bird. And if you want the references, we are on page 67 of the hard copy or diligent ORG 17. Welcome, Chantel.
Ki he Māori ora, te whare I te ne, te nakwe, te papa I waho, te nakwe, Rauranga te rama, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko taka tōku ingoa, no tia mana o kutipuna, he kaimani ao mo te reo o te kaiao. My name is Shanta Carter. I'm the Regional Conservation Manager for the Royal Forest and Bird Protection Society, and I'm speaking on behalf of our local branches here in Bay of Plenty in relation to our submission on the proposed long-term plan. I will make a few comments on issues important to the Society before closing with the consultation topics. Forest and Bird strongly support the Council's ongoing efforts to control introduced pests in the region, and we strongly encourage the Council to maintain funding allocation for holistic pest control. Particularly landscape scale approaches need to be applied to control introduced feral browsing animals such as deer, goats, pigs, and wallabies and other catchments. This will enable native habitat and downstream community resilience during extreme weather events, which we will encounter more frequently. Biosecurity risk will increase as climate change kicks in, already seeing myrtle rust threaten native species like Puhutukawa, Manuka, and Rata. Colerpa, a potent marine pest, is just on our doorstep. We commend you for the high percentage of programs on track, and therefore we think the target could be raised from 85% to at least 90%. Funding of community groups for control of pests in the regional pest management plan, for example, goat control in the Eastern Bay of Plenty, helps achieve the outcomes of the statutory plan and receive budgetary stability for this work. Further, we are pleased to see that nature-based solutions will take center stage in planning efforts to increase community resilience in a changing climate. Particularly the updating of the rivers and drainage asset management to align with new regulations and improve environmental outcomes. For example, transitioning to a room for the river and nature-based solution approach to river management is welcomed by the society. The proposed national policy statement on natural hazard decision-making includes a policy directed to a preference for nature-based solutions over hard engineering solutions, with this approach being more affordable and sustainable for our communities in the long term. Because the Kaimai-Mamaku headwater forest is a key area that requires special attention in this regard, we asked the Regional Council to maintain the current funding allocation for the Kaimai-Mamaku restoration project, as set out in the environmental program, and increase the funding allocation to Manaka Kaimai-Mamaku Trust to provide for continued operation. Rosenberg urges Council to invest in the identification of significant natural areas within the Bay of Plenty region and to review existing plans and policies to ensure they align with the national policy statement of Indigenous biodiversity within the 8-year timeframe required. We suggest starting off the process by assessing council-owned parks, reserves, and other land, and then continuing to other public and private property. The NPS-IB gives local authorities 8 years from the commencement of the NPS-IB, as mentioned, to publicly notify any changes to their policy statements and plans that are necessary to give effect to the NPS. Therefore, we feel it is appropriate to include these requirements in the long-term plan, as some may be resource-intensive and no doubt will require further funding. We appreciate the Council's efforts to steadily increase the number of priority biodiversity areas to be actively managed. Commend the Council's recognition of the needs for significant investment in natural carbon storage, including planting native trees and the preservation of creation of wetland. In line with this, we would like to see a cutback in mangrove management, as mangroves constitute vital habitats for coastal species while protecting our coastal environment from natural hazards and erosion. We know that mangrove removal is proposed to recommence in Ogiwa Harbour. While central government has indicated it will be amending the National Policy Statement, Freshwater Management and Resource Management Act, and this may manage your minimum responsibilities under legislation, any change to written policy does not change the significance of having healthy fresh water in our region. Regardless of the words in the legislation, healthy fresh water is critical to the health and prosperity of our region. With this in mind, it is critical that you continue to provide resources through your long-term plan, to process changes for your regional freshwater plan as planned, for example, to notify a plan by the end of 2024, and to prioritize the health and well-being of water under Te Mana o Te Wai as soon as possible. While we acknowledge that the target of 75% for swimmable water bodies wasn't achieved over recent years, we believe the target should steadily increase under the NPS-FM to restore their mobility over time. And now go over to the consultation topics. Paying for buses. We support option 2. Public transport should be affordable and accessible by prioritizing investment in public transport infrastructure over road spending. Increasing regional connectivity constitutes an important step with a potential park-and-ride option to ease road congestion and emissions in a growing city and region. Consultation topic number 2, Port of Tauranga shareholding. We also support option 2. Forest and Bird support Council in their endeavour to support investment and solutions that are the most appropriate in the long term within their financial principles. For this, we would like to encourage Council to diversify their investment portfolio towards more ethical and environmental friendly shares. We are aware that currently Bay of Plenty Regional Council investment arm Quayside Holdings owns 44% of PF Olsen, a company convicted in the environmental court of poor harvesting practices that contribute to Bay of Plenty and East Cape slash and sediment problems.
We believe many ratepayers won't appreciate that they are complicit in the slash settlement issue that is battling the region. Consultation topic number 3, opportunities for regional parks. We support option 2. We celebrate the Council's decision to establish new regional parks to benefit the environment through increased opportunity for carbon sequestration and for people to reconnect with nature. We fully endorse the Noble family's wish to turn their generous gift into a regional park for the people in the Bay to enjoy. Regional parks will act as important environmental corridors and hotspots for our neighbours' wildlife, putting the plenty into our region's name. On behalf of our local branches, we thank you for your time today. Kia ora.
Thank you, Chantal. Councillors, questions? Appears not. Thank you very much for your well-considered submission. Thank you. Kylie Smallman. Kylie Smallman presents on behalf of Ngāti Whare Tauranga. And their submission is on 518 of your hard copy or Org 100.
I call Kylie Smallman home, it's in our Takiru Awe or Ngāti Tauranga. We'll send by Pētahi atu. Hi, so just getting straight into it. So I'm just here to talk about consultation topic number 2, whether to sell some sort of tauranga shares. I believe you've been given the handout that I'll be talking to, so I won't be too long, actually. So obviously, yes, we agree with the selling down of the shares to no less than 28%, and for the reasons specified in the consultation document, namely the diversification of the portfolio to reduce risk of returns, safeguard the ability to fund future investment opportunities because of that dividend policy restrictions, and obviously we prefer the divesting of shares as opposed to an increase in rates. However, there is a caveat that you'll see on our handout there that we believe the council shares in the port should be offered to Ngā iwi o Tauranga Moana as a right of first refusal. And so the basis of my request for the right of first refusal is in the box below there. Iwi, mana whenua here in Tauranga Moana are recognised by the Crown as having customary interests, either all or parts of the Tauranga Harbour, and we have shared kaitiakina responsibility for water quality in the harbour. Port of Tauranga recognises and respects the mana whenua of the rohe and acknowledges the kaitiakina obligations of iwi and hapu. And just pulling stuff out of your documentation here, Treaty of Waitangi obliges councils to involve Māori in making decisions on matters that affect them, and also referring to your revenue and financing policy that must support the principles set in the preamble to the Ture Whenua Māori Act, which are specified below, recognising that land is a taonga tupuiho or of special significance to Māori people, to promote the retention of that land in the hands of its owners, whānau and hapu, and to protect for the benefit of its owners, whānau and the hapu, and also to maintain a port and to establish mechanisms to assist the Māori people to achieve the implementation of these principles. On the other page, you'll see, so it's for these reasons stated that we do not support the notion of offering these shares out before Māori are consulted and provided an option to take them up, either wholesale or in tranches over several years. So in the next box that follows, I've highlighted the benefits of Ngā iwi o Tauranga Moana becoming major shareholders in the Port of Tauranga. You'll see there that I've used a quadruple bottom line framework to highlight all the potential benefits. So firstly, with the environmental benefits, Port of Tauranga obviously could help them reduce the risk of ending up in the environmental court with mana whenua as their specialist advisors. So potential risk mitigation strategy there, but also for iwi, we would better enact our obligations as kaitiaki, but also obviously for the wider community for environmental protection and sustainability. Moving on to the economic benefits for Tauranga, if we were, iwi would be able to offer unique Indigenous perspectives to development, trade and commerce, if we were significant shareholders in the port. Regional Council, obviously, for the reasons specified why you want to sell down, potential for higher dividends. And for iwi, we would be able to enact our intergenerational strategies. The social aspects, I envision strengthened strategic relationships between mana whenua as the custodians of Tauranga Moana Harbour, Regional Council, as well as the Port of Tauranga being the largest port in New Zealand. And the other one is Regional Council and iwi as significant shareholders will prioritise the intergenerational well-being of our people and community, but this is not guaranteed if this was sold out to outside investors. And obviously the cultural benefits, we would be able to enact our kaitiaki obligations and ensure the custodianship of the harbour for future generations. We would also be able, as mentioned above, we would be able to enact our intergenerational strategies. So in closing, as you can see above, there are many far-reaching benefits of iwi becoming significant shareholders of the port, not only for iwi, the port or the Regional Council, but also for Tauranga Moana and the wider Bay of Plenty. So in my opinion, there are no negative consequences to this. The only potential barrier I see is Council's courage and willingness to offer the right of first refusal to iwi. But you know the old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. So hopefully you can see the potential of working together with iwi and the Port of Tauranga and to create massive opportunities for our people and our community. So I'm happy to provide further information if required, and we're also happy to host at our marae and welcome day Te Whitu Rangi to discuss this further. Kai nō reira, ki ana ki a koutou mō tēnei āheinga, tēnā koutou.
That was quite clear, what the expectation is. Congratulations, councillors. Open for discussion. Just a question in your last statement that you said, acting in the interest of iwi, are you referring to Puking iwi?
Yes, ki Tauranga.
Ki Tauranga. Yes. Not the other associated iwi.
No, I do not speak on behalf of the other iwi. We have had initial conversations with the other two iwi, favourable conversations, but until we know further about the potential for an RFR, then we'll be able to delve into the details.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. In Rio. Councillors Ricky Nelson and Rion Furno from Whanau Tau Waiau, ki Otapipi nā Te Whai. Floor's yours, Rio.
Tuatahi tēnei ka mihi atu ki te runga rawa, tautuku ana hau ngā mihi ki ka karakia ki tō tātou kaihanga. Ai tēnei wā te whare tuaka nei ka tūtonu mai rā. Tangata whenua, marawa ho tēnei ka mihi atu ki a pōtu e tirohanga tēnei mea te manātu. O kura te wini kura te wana maunga, te kurangi na maunga o hatu ngai kimu tai hainga aua te hei koe te au te mohana taurangai. O tā pipi te whenua e, o tā pipi te whenua, mā tā tua te waka. O koro te tangata e, hui e, ai e. Ka tikora tātou. Miha ki ka putu rauranga tirama, good to see everyone today. I know it's probably been a long day, so we're not really going to read through too much of our submission, because I know you were studying that happily before we kia ora tātou. So basically, I'm just going to start off quickly with a couple of statements. We have come here today from the northern reaches of the Bay of Plenty regions, from Ngākuria Whare, out at Waiheke Beach today. and here representing Ngāti Te Wai e Tōpiro Marae. So my first statement I want to make is that tū moke ana mātou ki te kainga. We feel lonely. We feel lonely down at our home. We've been undertaking a lot of mahi in response to the needs for our people and our environment. To be honest, we've done a lot of this mahi on our own steed. We've forged our own relationships, such as with Corfron, Manaki Te Awanui Research, and we've sought their help to put some projects in place to address needs such as the loss of our kaimoana and other issues that are occurring. And so what we'd like to I'd like to say today, the first statement is we want to work together with the Regional Council to actually make these improvements, to be able to, at the end of our work together, to be able to celebrate together, making a difference. We recently received the Western Bay Sustainable Community Award as part of Waikiki Beach, and this is just a sign of things, transformation that has happened since we instigated the things after COVID. So we've spent the last 2 and a bit years getting ourselves out of that isolation mode, getting ourselves back into the community, and we've made some major changes at Waikiki Beach. It's not just us doing it, it's the whole community. And so I just wanted to make that statement first and foremost clear for Regional Council. We're really keen for you guys to come on board with a lot of the projects you'll read in our submission to find ways where we can work together to get better outcomes. So that's my opening statement. I'll hand it to you.
Kia ora tātou. Just up here, if you have a look at this map that we have, this is our settlement rohe, interest area for Ngāti Te Wai, but within that interest area, we share that with Taufau ki o Tawhiwhi as well as Tamawhānua in the south. It goes from Onga Titi in the south all the way up to Waikiki Beach. That's recognised within our settlement legislation as our rohe. Within that rohe, we consider ourselves kaitiaki of all those resources. And that's why we've been very proactive in the past 5 years or so, engaged in that Kaiao space. Worked in biosecurity, we've worked in collaboration with Regional Council as well as Western Bay, all the environmental kaupapa that we've been collaborating with, as well as Project Porori. We are having a look at some major restoration work around the Bowentown Head, stretched back to Waikiki Beach area, as well as Torpedo Point. We've got something on the table with Western Bay that we're collaborating, as well as Regional Council. We're going to be felling all the trees there and having a planting restoration project for the next 5 years, which you guys have been involved in. Also Cody Point and another some other big projects, including the Atherley Wildlife Reserve, which is around about 65 hectares of wildlife reserve that we've been actively engaged in planting. Also, there was Inanga Ponds a couple of years ago that we worked with Regional Council establishing where that saltweed was around the Waio River. Just move on to the next one. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, this is representatives of our hapu, our team, Kamakodi, which is an entity that is co-owned by BOPRC as well as Tuapila Marae, and we managed to get some jobs for nature funding. We have a team of about 7 that work in that tile space. We're working in code protection, collaborating with the Department of Conservation in the Docker State. Upgrading tracks as well as a whole bunch of other mahi with Department of Conservation. We also, within the catchments, work alongside our Regional Council on a number of these projects. What we're coming here today for specifically to ask for some funding to support a native nursery for restoration projects in northern Tauranga. Okay, so this reserve land here is owned by Western Bay. It is also within our legislation. It's an RFR for Ngāti Te Wai. We've got an agreement with Western Bay where that rectangle is to set up a community nursery And it's just been approved recently, and we will be paying lease lease long term for that lease there. We'll be doing a restoration across that reserve as well. They committed up to about $30,000 for the establishment of that native nursery, and we will be using that native nursery to support those restoration projects throughout northern part of Moana. We have our other partners, which we signed an MOU with Regional Council and Project Korori. They have actually maxed out the nursery. They've asked to support us as well. So we'll have a number of volunteers. The funding that we are asking for is from Regional Council is $40,000 funding support for employment of nursery manager for the first year. That includes operating costs and a couple other setup costs that we'll need to implement. That'll be dialed down to in the second year to about $18,000 for that. After that, it will be self-sustaining with going forward, and also continued support with Western Bay. As far as our capability capacity, we'll be having setting up satellite nurseries within each of our marae as well, so that we can start shifting into maybe commercial space for our marae to support these projects as well as others around our Māori. So anyway, could you please consider that, and we'll leave it to the council if we've got anything else, otherwise we'll.
I don't have anything else, whānau, but sorry, one more thing, the Te Ara Poutama strategy, very wholeheartedly support that kaupapa. It was quite funny, actually, we thought they were spying on us when they grabbed that strategy, because it's everything we do. And so again, it aligns, you know what I mean? So magically it happened. So let's just see it for what it is, whānau. We're looking for support, and Regional Council, we know you guys can help us achieve better outcomes. Together, we can achieve great outcomes. Kia ora tātou, ni koutou.
Thanks, Rion. Thanks, Ricky. Council is open for discussion.
Well, just on your previous slide, just with you were talking about, so outside the nursery, restoring that as a reserve as well. How big is that footprint that you've got there?
Okay, that reserve, Tāpawai Reserve, was actually only a small reserve.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
So there was only a small reserve, but Western Bay, there's some sites of significance on there, and Western Bay purchased the adjacent property for about $2 million. What they did is actually sectioned off the house and incorporated a whole heap of that waterfront property into that reserve, doubling it in size. There's just some natural features there that they wanted to protect, and possibly, just for that end of the Moana, they've got some big plans, which, in collaboration with us, we can get.
Councillor White.
Tēnā koroa, nā tātuna, nā tika. Niki a koutou whakātura, look, I'm just, I can recall committee mind met out Jordan there, and you produced a very, very positive context of what you're doing. It's very impressive. No less impressive in terms of what your intentions are and how you're carrying out your work. In the context of these nurseries you're talking about, you're talking about half a dozen live being involved and each looking to, but how far down the track is that thinking? I know you've got quite a bit of work to do to mobilise that, but when do you plan on continuing schedule to develop that? That's quite exciting.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting, and actually it's fast tracking. We get some really good outcomes quickly. Obviously, it's getting close to the end of the financial year. So we're actually got a bit of funding from Western Bay and Otawhiwhi Marae to supply us with the right tools, soil, everything we need, seedlings. So we're quite well down the track. We've got our box gardens ready to go, and with the farmers team, so we're ready to go right for this planting season now.
Thank you, Rion. Thank you, Ricky. Wish you well.
Thank you.
Grant, Ellie. You're on the last of the shift today, Grant. You see, the ball's still awake, it's ready to
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, BOPRC LTP. This is a personal submission. I am, as you know, a councillor for the Wellington District Council, and me and James Denier call for any input to submissions to Western Bay's submission. Did sort of give them a bit of information along these lines, but I've been a little bit late in the piece and so I didn't make the Western Bay submission. So it is a big concern of mine as well. And so I've sort of tried to tell the story in pictures rather than too much detail and words, but you've all read my written submission. So I'll just have you got the PowerPoint in front of you?
No.
Okay, so this is the first time you're seeing it? Okay, great. So what I'm, good work on the BOPRC share seldom. That seems like a good idea for ongoing resilience in terms of the returns. And James Denier, the Mayor, told us yesterday morning about the ceremony he had up at the Noble Farm for the gifting of that for the regional parks. That's so really great news. So flood protection and control, as you know, Cyclone Gabriel and other heavy rainfall events in 2023 highlighted the vulnerability of the Te Puhi catchment and issues identified as contributing cause to the extreme nature and extent of the downstream flooding, silt inundation, waterborne debris damage, and littering on stream riverbanks and floodplains, and subsequent pasture loss where stormwater was sitting for extended periods unable to be pumped into the Kaituni. So these are some photos of the events of that period. This is actually the Kaituna Waitangi Bridge over the Kaituna and flood before the major events really. And then this is also the Wari stream. We've got a walkway that runs down the side of that stream, and that's totally underwater as you can see. But I have actually seen this Wari within like a couple of feet of breaching these stop banks in the past, probably back in 2017 maybe, rather than in recent times apart from this event. But this is Lawrence Oliver Park in Te Puhi and looking out towards Armour Farm and Marshall Farm, and the Kaituna on the right. The Te Puhi wastewater treatment plant is just in the upper right hand corner of that picture. So this was quite a significant event. Cool. So this is what's called Tinkerbell's Garden, just beside Lawrence Oliver Park. So just another demonstration. This is a property down Pururi Street in Te Puhi. This guy was hit 3 years before this event, and he called some of the local council and said, look, this is not acceptable, what can you do to try and help us out so this doesn't happen again? But anyway, so he wasn't very happy with me when this happened again, and this little property down got covered in about 300 or 400 millimetres of silt. Some new avocado trees he planted are pretty much stuffed, I guess. I'm not sure if they survived, but so that's the extent of the silt that's come through. This is like halfway between Te Puhi Highway and maybe the upper reaches of urban Te Puke. This is 51 Atahua Way, Bevan Voice's property, somebody might know him. This is probably the most significant area. There was quite a big log jam, and obviously that's a kiwi fruit orchard, and quite a bit of debris ended up there. This is Councillor with the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wickers there, and Deputy Mayor Scrimger taking a photo of the carnage beside the Ohini Anganga. And we're very thankful for Regional Council's assistance in clearing the drain and making it workable and piling up this these big logs out of the way so that the cleanup could commence. This is 31 Dudley Black. It's another. This is a red kiwi fruit orchard, and obviously they've lost some of their orchard. And I know you're going to say, well, you shouldn't be developing land in the floodplain, and that's a good point. And these guys, I guess, are well aware of the risks now if they weren't beforehand. This is up the top of number 3 road. There's a nature sanctuary up there, which Jim Doman's developed, Te Whakakaha Trust, I think it is. So this is what's known as Paki's Quarry. It's an old quarry that used to operate up there, probably illegally most of the time. But anyway, so these are aerial photos taken by George Muir, who lives up number 4 road. He flew over the area on flood events, and so that's quite significant scouring, and you can see that the amount of silt and debris and trees that have washed down those rivulets, and so it's I don't know. I guess most of you know Laurie Donald. He used to work for Regional Council, but he talked about a meeting I went to, the effect of erosion and the effect in terms of sedimentation downstream what happened. So if you talk about a fairly small area having quite a big effect, this is quite a large area and it's had quite a significant effect. There's pretty much up the top of the hills there. On the other side of that is the Tauranga City water catchment area, just to give you an idea where it is. Number 4 road bridge, obviously that got taken out by probably a big log or tree that got dislodged as a result of the previous slides. And so that was quite a significant event for our council. And you can see that log just lying on the side there. I mean, that's quite a small one, probably compared to what took out the bridge, but and just the concrete piles that remained. Here's the new Bailey Bridge that we were able to install reasonably quickly, I guess, within 6 weeks. So quite proud of that. And we're working on a permanent solution now. This is the Waiari rail bridge, Bridge 92. This is 9th of May, another heavy rainfall event where one of those big logs, obviously that was, whether it was dislodged in the earlier events, but it's carried its way downstream and ended up here. So that's our public walkway that we that on the left there. That's a walkway that goes under the bridge and a bit of a 3-kilometre loop and close to Te Puke. So I guess you all know that we maybe need to be a bit more diligent and maintaining the river streams and stormwater assets in optimal condition so that they will contain these increasing volume of water that are likely to flow down. And this is my little sketch I've just put together. I know some of you probably understand this, but and just for background, I've got a sort of qualifications in mechanical engineering, so not that this is very complicated or complex, but as you can see, that's a river cross section with 2 stop banks and the river banks, and what happens over time when you get these big rainwater events and the silt that comes off the hills, they tend to build up on the river banks. They build up in the stream at the base of the river and reduce the volumetric capacity of the rivers and streams. So over time, the capacity of that river to handle that water is reduced quite significantly, and And so it's really up to regional council to, and it is one of your functions is to maintain these rivers, remove the silt, maintain that volumetric capacity. So, like I said before, I'm a member of a community group to develop the walkway around which runs beside the Waiari, and about 6 years ago we had a meeting with regional staff, Arthur and I forget his name, sorry, but anyway, we was basically asking them to lay down a pathway to formalise our pathway, because we just had a mowing grass strip along there, and they said, well, we're due to desilt the riverbanks, and you know, if you build your pathway, we might disrupt it when we come and bring in machinery. And so we said, well, what's the likelihood? Are you really going to, if you're coming to do that, then we'll wait till you've done that, and then we'll perhaps move ahead with the pathway. They said, well, there's no money in the budget for next year, so we can't do it next year, and we're not quite sure when we'll be able to do it. So, we said, well, what do you think about it? Well, just go ahead and we'll try and look after it when we come and do our job. So anyway, we did the pathway, and they still haven't come back and desilted those riverbanks like 6 or 7 years later. Was it 2018 or 19 or something when we talked at that meeting? So, and I should have put some photos on. I've got some really great photos of sort of before and after, or a time photo which show that the riverbank and then the build-up of silt over time, which is quite significant. And so at some point, I guess you either build higher stop banks, and mostly that because of the increased volume of water going down there anyway. But so the next thing I want to talk about is the river and drainage schemes, the Kaituna River scheme, 7th Street Drain. Now, Kolanama got affected quite badly by the floods, and he invited the local councillors down there, and I think Councillor Shirley and these also went down and saw him at a different time. But so he's forwarded me this drainage picture of the area, and one on the left there is called the Borough Drain, that pretty much goes through the centre of Te Puke. It's got about I think a 200 hectare catchment, including the main urban area to Te Puke up to Fairhaven School. One on the right is I think the Seddon Drain or the Laura Drain. There's a couple there anyway, but what I want to talk about is the this is after the events of early last year, when we went to see Colin, and basically there's a permanent diesel pump down there pumping the water across the stop bank, because the water is so high in the Kaituna and in the drain that it can't get through the flat valve. So they're pumping that with that diesel pump on the right, and he also had to put his tractor down there with a PTO pump on to handle the excess. And this is what it looked like on the other side of the river. So you've got the flat valve pretty much submerged. I think Colin says, you know, the Kaituna, I think it's commonly known, the Kaituna's been running about 1 metre higher than it traditionally used to run. And so this is what's made it necessary for these measures. Now, this is one of Colin's farms, which was underwater for quite a few weeks after the events, and the water just simply wasn't able to drain away, so it destroyed quite a bit of the pasture. And that's the Ohini Anga Canal, which is the major canal through the centre of Te Puke. And that's just some of the other debris that's been washed all the way from up in the hills down to his farm. And so this is the Borough Drain, which is this where it goes under Station Road in Te Puke. As you can see, it's quite a significant sized drain, and that goes between, like, next to KFC and through the Queen Palms development in the middle of Te Puke. And that's the drain that I wanted to talk about now, and I've talked about it in my written submission. So this drain this is the borough drain here where it joins the Anga Canal. You can see the major stop bank down the right, that's the stop bank for the canal. And the other one is the borough drain, which is about 300 metres from here to the bottom of 7th Street, where they're currently building a 150 lot housing subdivision. And so in the original plans for this scheme, this drain was supposed to have stop banks as well. Because when everything floods, then the water just disperses across the fields and it doesn't build up any pressure, which it would do if it was contained within stop banks, and to open the flat into the Ohanianga Canal. So Colin's argument, and I think, you know, it sort of makes a lot of sense. You know, you want to know a common sense solution, then ask the farmer. So if you were to build the stop banks as originally envisaged to connect this drain, about 300 metres long, to the bottom of 7th Street, which is a raised platform, then theoretically that would assist all that water that ends up sitting on the floodplains to get into the canal and then go through the proper channels to the Kaituna. This is the new outlet back on the one I showed you before. That you're probably well aware of this, what's going on here. So there's the original flat valve on the right, which I showed you the water coming out of it. And just to the left underwater there is a little concrete platform. That's where the new drain that you guys are putting in at the moment, which is due to be commissioned next Tuesday. I've got a bit mixed up here. This is where the borough drain joins the canal. Sorry.
Right, how many more have you got?
Oh, not part of it. I'll work through it. So you guys are building this now. So this is a new pumping station that's down the canal on the right. Basically goes through that flat valve, and the one on the left purpose is to drain the floodplains when they get filled. So that only operates when that's in flood. Otherwise, to the right will be where it normally goes. So this doesn't preclude what I'm talking about with the stop banks, but this is due to be commissioned next Tuesday. So I just want to congratulate everyone on doing that. And so I've talked about the new stop bank required. And just wanted to mention that Te Puke, we're currently undergoing the Te Puke spatial plan review, and obviously we haven't really got into too much detail about stormwater modelling and control of the catchment, but that will be one of the inputs into the process. And obviously any resource consent application will plan change that occurs in Te Puke, then obviously stormwater is a big factor. A lot of the subdivision that does occur currently requires on-site stormwater retention and slow release. So we're already sort of planning. So the reason I'm bringing this up is really because, you know, we're set to increase the population in Te Puke from like 10,000 to 13 to 16,000, and we really don't want stormwater to be a factor to hold up that developmental growth. And so anything that can be done to assist in that department, like the stop bank that I talked about, the bigger flood pumps, which you're already aware of, we really appreciate. And just to show, this is the bottom of 7th Street, which is this new 150 lot subdivision that's currently in the earthwork stage. And there's other significant subdivisions happening up the top end of Te Puke currently. And so it's just really want to make a point that, you know, development is happening in Te Puke. We want you guys to come to the party and, you know, assist in any way possible.
Okay, thanks, Grant. So some of these things were part of our LTP consultation. I appreciate your passion and your understanding of this. Could I suggest that going forward that another forum might be our ops and monitoring forum, or even one of the catchment, the Bell Road, you know, drainage scheme things. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Crosby, McMillan. Oh, Grant, look, thank you very much for that presentation and bringing it to our attention. Just on the other side, I need to come and talk to you. Because I was actually catching up with Richard Crawford on another matter related to the Henny Stream, where place was flooded out. But what worries me, and I think you've touched on it, is you've got substantial urban development happening at the Upper Dunlop Road at the moment, which feeds into a couple of catchment ponds that blew out, et cetera, et cetera. So you've raised a really valid issue. And it does need to link with that spatial planning, but I have to say the response of the council wasn't particularly positive on this occasion, so I need to come and talk to you about that one-off issue. But I think it raised an incredibly valid point about that whole catchment, because both those streams, that and Waiara stuff, Waiara to run that area as well, and until I guess they're managed in a more appropriate way, you're right. Potential development of typically is going to be through the spatial planning. So a very, very good presentation. Thank you. I'm going to come and see you soon.
Yeah, good.
Just wonder how much you've got nature-based solutions sort of plugged up in your spatial planning, and also just I guess estimating thought process around all of this, you know, the picture of sponge cities and daylighting and planting all the mitigation things alongside some of the engineering.
Yeah.
Is that kind of on your radar as well? Is that enveloped into this? So I'm just wondering if.
Yeah, no, we've prepared quite a significant baseline report to inform the process and also an economic assessment. So we won't see the touch on there, but we've got a committee that includes the councillors plus Tui Community Board and for local Manawhenua members from Tapawika and Waitaha. I did ask the mayor if we could maybe add a regional council member, and I reached out to Martin Moana informally, and while the mayor is not keen to make a regional councillor a member of the committee, he's welcome to the idea of any of you guys sitting in on meetings if you wish to.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Grant. Great insight into stuff that, you know, probably a lot of us haven't seen, because that's relatively new, remedial stuff.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think, you know, I wanted to show the pictures because they got thousand stills of whatever. But when you say it's not really in the long-term plan, I was responding to some of the activity areas within the long-term plan documents.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for your commitment.
Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you. Council Executives, our day to close. Councillor White, was he coming here?
I might ask you to thank our Māori to walk us out here. You want to interpret too long?
Nā kote te karihera, nā kote kei se tamata whenua, e whenei wahi neka, huri nā te nā whatai. Nō hi ia nō hia, nō hia te take o ngā kōre no te whāna, nō hia te hautapu o ngā iki. Pata tia ke rea tāne te whāna, ma kirina ki wenei tāura, kirina ki wenei tāura kia tutu mai ia, te whare muka te mea nui, te karamata maka mea, ma hea te kuru me tō me. Kawa mawai kia tīna, tīna, ie.
Councillors, so you'll know next thing is on Tuesday in Whakatane, 9:30. We'll see you all there.